Let's get it, 580 Sports Talk, live and direct on a Monday. Greetings and salutations. Thanks for being with us. Hope you had an outstanding weekend. Hope you're ready for 3 hours of sports talk coming your way on the sports voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com. And a special hello to those of you tuned in and watching our video stream, which you can catch on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and on Facebook at WIBW News. I am Dan Lucero. Brendan Dworzinski is along. Spencer Dupuis will be in a bit. We'll have a bit of a revolving door today over the next 3 hours, but that's all right. We've got plenty to discuss after the weekend that was in sports, and we're glad that you are in here with us. We're going to cover some college hoops. KU loses on Saturday. It got ugly on social media. Bill Self released a statement after many of you had gone to bed. But if you missed it, you didn't miss anything. And it was a really, frankly, gutless statement from the head coach of the Kansas Jayhawks that offered no significant defense of what his player was going through in his social media DMs undeservedly on Saturday after the Kansas loss to Texas Tech. We'll also get to KU's big Monday affair at Houston tonight, see if Kansas can try and knock off the number 4 team in the country after having them all but beaten at Allen Fieldhouse earlier this season.
I am not sure in the now 11 years that I have either been a student or media member following KU, and in the, what would it be, almost 10 years prior that I was a fan of the program, I don't think I've ever been less excited for a Kansas basketball game. Like, anything within 20 points might as well be a win.
Wow.
I think this is going to be awful.
Really?
Like the BYU game, except Houston is maybe the best team in the country.
No letdown for Houston, having already clinched the Big 12?
No.
Yeah, I don't know that they
This ain't like either. I'm trying not to call anyone out in particular, but like there are some coaches that are going to ease off the gas when, okay, let's stay healthy getting into the tournament. Like we'll run our stuff, but
we won the league.
We won the league. We're talking Kelvin Sampson. We're talking the Fertitta Center, which gets loud. It is going to be a fired up environment. I hope I am wrong. As always, when I think one of my teams is going to lose, one of our teams is going to lose, I hope I am wrong. I think this is going to be over by halftime.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are they a double-digit dog tonight?
I know there was 9.5. I've seen 10.
9.5 at Prairie Band Sportsbook right now up at Prairie Band Casino in Mayetta. I think I was reading KU hasn't been a double-digit dog in the Bill Self era. Or something along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably something like
that.
So,
we'll see where that line closes tonight. But, we'll preview Kansas's game against now the number 3 team in the country, the Houston Cougars. K-State got a win yesterday. Death rattle, or did it mean something to beat somebody, even the worst team in the Big 12, without Coleman Hawkins? Did that mean a little something to have done it without arguably K-State's best player? But really, when we talk about K-State, we are going to be convening a meeting of the David Gasson Appreciation Society. Because 3 years ago, I thought this guy was just like best case scenario, your first big off the bench in his career. And he might make second team all Big 12. He really might. And that is a testament to David Gasson. And I have been saying this since it appeared at first like this season would go south. I don't know what the crowd is going to look like Saturday when Iowa State comes to town for senior day. But by God, if you need a reason to go to give that man a hand. Go to give David Gasson his flowers on his senior night because he's going to deserve them.
The exact kind of transfer that I think both KU and K-State have frankly lacked this season. Not entirely. I mean, he's an example of it. On the KU side, I don't think Hunter Dickinson's like hates Kansas and doesn't care about it or anything. I think he does like KU, but David Gasson is like the prototypical, this is the guy who's going to come and play for us, and he's not just here to cash an NIL check and to hoop until he can go play professionally. He really does care about K-State. He has put forth 100% effort every single game since he got to campus, and he wasn't always playing a whole lot. So, no, I'm right there with you. I hope, and I think that K-State fans, even the ones who are the most hard on this year's team, have said, yeah, we love this dude. Like, this dude's one of ours, even if he might have started in Blacksburg.
Lots of college hoops to get to on the program today. We're going to talk some football as well. We've got the
Thank God
free agents for the Chiefs defense. There are 7 of them who hit free agency and are more than just like camp invite guys. We'll go through the list. Which ones should the Chiefs keep? And if the Chiefs do not keep these players, where should they look for a replacement? On the free agent market, or can they draft a replacement for a departing member of the Chiefs defense? We'll also talk some football with our NFL insider, Matt Verderame. He joins us at the bottom of the 3 o'clock hour to talk football, as he always does. Matt Verderame of Sports Illustrated, SI.com, That Football Show, the KC Sports Network, and the Matt Verderame Show on his subscriber-only Patreon. And we'll talk some baseball, too. Michael Garcia compared to a Royal from last year who wasn't super popular, but I actually think it makes a little sense if Michael Garcia ends up in a similar vein, or his usage ends up in a similar vein this coming season. And another young arm to keep an eye on in the Royals system, plus all the other things you've come to know and love from a Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk. We'll have some 580 Sports Talk headlines. We'll start a new week and a new month of What Is Wrong With You. We'll do good, bad, ugly from the weekend that was. That's all still to come on the show today. You are, as always, invited and encouraged to be part of the program. Text the show today, 785-272-9429. It's 785-272-9429, the text line number. You can also get at us if you are watching the YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and you are streaming the show live today. First of all, welcome. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you. I wish I could tell you I shaved and got a haircut for the occasion today, but that'll have to wait another day at least. But if you are watching on YouTube today, there is a chat feature both on the web browser at youtube.com or in the mobile app, and you can interact in the chat with your hosts and with your fellow listeners. A good afternoon to the Gilliland family. Mark H. is in. Paul is in. McFly Cowboy is in. Tyler is in today, and we know we'll see more of you throughout the show today. Thanks for being along. We appreciate you hanging out on 580 Sports Talk.
Yeah, if you've got a fun YouTube handle, you'll call you by your display name. We don't know anyone's specific name, so you can have a fun name like McFly Cowboy.
Yeah.
Our guy McFly.
Yeah, if you've got you got a cool handle, we will use it.
No curses, though.
Yes, if you have a profane handle, we have to work around that. But we're all friends here.
We're all online here.
We're all extremely online. KU lost to Texas Tech on Saturday. I thought it was a pretty good basketball game. I actually thought KU did a lot well in the game, except for one very important thing. They did not make nearly as many three-pointers. Texas Tech shot 41 three-pointers. Brendan, quickly, how many minutes are in a college basketball game?
40.
So if you shot 41 threes, that would be more than one per minute?
Yes.
That's so many three-pointers.
It is.
That is a lot of three-pointers.
If I'm not mistaken, it's the most ever put up against KU.
And when you shoot 41 threes, you don't have to shoot a great percentage to make a lot of threes. And if you make a lot of threes, chances are you're going to make more than Kansas makes. And Kansas got outscored in the game 42-12, I believe it was, from the three-point arc. Because KU, I believe, only made 4 three-pointers, which goes to show you that among the problems that this KU team has, why it feels substandard. It's a little bit like the old Beach Boys song, I just wasn't made for these times. The KU the last 2 years just isn't made for these times. Just is not built to keep up with the more modern offenses that prioritize three-pointers. We saw it get them got by BYU at home last year. We have seen it get them got by other teams who just line it up and shoot it and shoot it and shoot it. And KU at any given time has 3 guys on the court who are not really three-point threats. Hunter Dickinson was earlier in his career. He just isn't anymore. Yeah. And KJ Adams has never been. No. And DeJuan Harris has to be begged to shoot from behind the arc.
I heard a really interesting thought, actually related to an NBA game last night. So Chris Dunn was a really good college player at Providence. You may remember him there.
Yeah.
Has bounced around the league. Still, even though he has been an NBA journeyman, he is one of the best on-ball, one-on-one defensive players in the NBA. Always has been. He's an elite on-ball defender. why is he bounced around that much? That's really valuable because he cannot put the ball in the basket. He is completely incapable at the NBA level of putting the ball in the basket. And I saw someone last night. He was playing. Is he with the Celtics now or playing against the Celtics? Either way, I haven't really kept up since he left the Bulls. But the Celtics blogger said it's at this point in the history of basketball, it is more detrimental to not be able to score than it is to be a traffic cone defensively. Because historically speaking, it's the other way, right? Like, yeah, I mean, you can score all you want, but if you go 9 for 10 from the floor, but then you allow 10 buckets on the other end, okay, well, you're a net negative.
Yeah.
Scoring is such an important part of the game now, and I think this applies at the college level too. KU's got guys who, in theory, DeJuan Harris won Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year a couple years ago. KJ Adams is an elite defender, and he's not like an on-ball perimeter guy, but what he does, he's great at it. If you can't score, you can't win. Like KU still, according to Ken Pom, I haven't checked the most updated numbers, but going into the game this weekend, we were talking about it on the show on Friday. KU
number 6 in the country on defense.
Yeah, 6th in defense, 59th offensively.
It's got to be Bill Self's worst offensive team.
I don't think it's even remotely close. Well, we checked last year's, the final numbers. KU finished, you'll never believe it, 59th.
How about that?
But that team was also 20th in defense. Now, our guy Triple G on YouTube on Friday said, yeah, I think that Ken Pom number is fool's gold. There's a lot of things that are propping it up, and that's fair. I do think this defense is better than last year's defense. This team has better athletes than last year's team had and more depth as well. Mm-hmm. You know, Kevin McCullough isn't missing 15 games to end the season this year, which almost makes it that much more frustrating. Like, this team beat Duke, which is, at least in some places, the favorite to win the national championship.
Beat Duke. They handled Iowa State. They had Houston beat, if not for what the freakiness there at the end of that game and in the end of overtime. Like, it's not that far away, but in a game like Saturday's, you see one of their main deficiencies bite them because they cannot make it work from 3 the way another team can. And look, 3 is greater than 2. If another team is going to outscore you by 31 from behind the arc, you'd better be unbelievably efficient from inside 2-point range. KU was not quite efficient enough, and they lost the game. We'll get to more of the game a little later on. After the game, Zeke Mayo did not play well on Saturday, and he would be the first to tell you, and it was a disappointing game from him, and it's another one of the problems. Most teams live like this. If one of your 2 best players doesn't play well, you can't win, or you're going to have trouble beating another good team. And Zeke Mayo did not play well on Saturday. And on social media, he took to his X account, at Zeke X Mayo, and wrote, I 100% deserve all the criticism in the world. My performance was beyond pitiful today and has been for a while now. I work my ass off every day to be great, but I can't be perfect all the time. I'm sorry to my fans and my teammates. I will continue to get better. Then he shared 4 screenshots from his Instagram DMs. Highlights include being told to kill himself and being called the N-word. So that's what Zeke Mayo had to deal with from so-called fans.
Can we start with the statement on this? I know we're going to get to Bill Self here in a second. Let's make this very clear. If you do this, you're a loser. You're a dirtbag. You're a loser. More than likely, you're a degenerate gambler.
Yes. A lot of this would go away if like player props were outlawed for college athletics.
Yeah, I was on the phone with my dad yesterday. And he asked, "Hey, what the heck happened? Like, why are people sending threats to one of the KU players?" And I said, "Well, some of them are probably, I'm sure there are some just like fans who don't have a grip on reality. Mm-hmm. Most of them, I'm almost certain, are gamblers." He goes, "Oh, that makes sense." Like, yeah, it does. And you're a loser. That is our official stance. You're a loser if you do this.
At this point, too, like there is no good reason for a professional or major college athlete to be on any social media.
No, that's true.
I would tell, if I were a head coach at a major Division I program, I would say deactivate it. Nothing good is going to come from it. Or lock it and restrict your viewers to only your friends and family. You want to have a friends and family page? Great. But it is not worth it to deal with these degenerates, because that online interaction has decayed and gotten worse and worse and worse, and this is what it is. And Travis Goff, the athletic director for Kansas, was right on it. And he called it out when he posted on X on Saturday. These aren't Jayhawks. They're not ours. Driven by gambling and hate. They've never competed a day in their life. To Zeke and all our guys, the Jayhawk family loves you and will always ride with you through thick and thin. That would have sufficed, frankly. I think that was a pretty good thing to say for the athletic director to get behind his guy. At 10:56 on Saturday night, Kansas basketball released this statement from Bill Self. And I'm going to read it in full so you have the full context. It's important. If I'm going to be critical of something, I want you to hear the whole thing. So here it is. The game today was a very good college basketball game. We played a very good team and we got beat. We had some individuals have exceptional individual games, and we had some maybe not play up to the standard they've set for themselves. But everyone on our team, coaches included, myself more than anyone, had opportunities to impact the game. A play here or there, that could have been the difference in the game over the course of 40 minutes. Texas Tech made more plays than we did. We competed, we tried, we came up short, and I'm proud of their efforts, and I'm also proud of their preparation to be ready for the game. We haven't had the overall year that we hoped for ourselves, nor the year that many other people have expected, but it hasn't been for a lack of caring. I can do a lot of things better. We could all do a lot of things better, but I'll roll with these guys every day and be proud of it. Any criticism about the team should be directed at me. I'm the head coach. I'm looking forward to seeing how we bounce back against a terrific Houston team on Monday. Then after that game, I'll look forward to see how we respond to a terrific Arizona team on Saturday. This is the most important time of the season, and this is the time where we need to be better, but we also need to be focused on basketball and not things being said outside of basketball that have absolutely zero merit. End of statement. I will save you the control F. There is no reference to the racism. There is no reference to the abuse. There is no reference to the cruelty that specifically Zeke Mayo, one of his guys, a hometown guy, faced heedlessly and unnecessarily on his social media. There is no reference to it. There is no calling it exactly what it was, hateful and racist. It may as well, that statement may as well have just rolled off of Bill Self's tongue in the post-game press conference on Saturday. It was a hell of a lot of words to say absolutely nothing. And I know this has been a hard year, and the losing relative to what we expect from Kansas, like a double digits in the loss column, is not something we expect from Kansas. 3 home losses in a season, most since 2018. I know that's grinding on everybody with the KU program, that this year has not met expectations. But, Bill, you can't be fussed to get your own players back, to say unequivocally that's wrong. And if you talk about like that to one of my guys, you're no fan of ours. You're despicable. You're a waste. We're not going to pay attention to that. We're better than that. We have Zeke Mayo's back. No, all you've got is any criticism about the team should be directed at me. This isn't criticism. They're telling one of your players he's an N-word and should kill himself. And you can't get behind him? You can't support him more than that? That's gutless. That's gutless from Bill Self. He's got to have his guys back, and he completely failed in this moment to meet the moment and to be who his player needed him to be publicly. I don't know what went on behind closed doors. I don't know what Bill Self has said to Zeke Mayo, either in person or over the phone or via text. But if you can't publicly put it out there that you stand against that hate and you stand against that racism and you've got your players back, then why the hell even put something out?
Yeah, that's where I am. If the thing with the Instagram DMs had never come to light, if that never goes public, if it never happens, this statement would make, well, let me phrase it this way. I still don't think there's any need to say this. I think this is trying to acquiesce to like doofus losers with burner accounts on Twitter. Like, I don't really know why there needed to be a statement about this anyway. But if the Zeke Mayo Instagram DMs thing never happens, this statement at least makes a little bit more sense. It's like, hey, I know you're frustrated. Like, be upset with me, not our guys. We're focused on hoops. Like, okay, this is totally unnecessary, but it makes more sense. Like, I almost wonder if this was drafted, like, after the game. Then the Zeke thing came out. So it's like, okay, well, we can't say this right now, but, like, I really want to say it, so let's post it later. Like, that's the only thing that really makes sense in my head, because I don't know why anything had to be said, period. Like, yes, you should address, don't talk like this. Don't say this to my guy, any of my guys, any person, let alone athlete. That should be addressed. Probably should have been addressed in a video statement or in just a line from the school.
Not something
whatever.
You throw it out there at 11 p.m. on a Saturday.
That's why it just, the first 2 or 3 paragraphs, I think it's 3 total.
It is 3 paragraphs.
The first, because the last one sort of like, directed at me, don't say anything to the players, we're focused on basketball. Like, that obviously speaks to what you're talking about, Dan. I just don't know why the first part of it has to be said at all. Like, guys, it's basketball. Sometimes you don't play all that well. I just don't know why there needed to be anything said, period. You're right. Like, Travis Goff came out, addressed the very gross things that were said to Zeke Mayo, moved on, and like, okay, good. That speaks for everybody. So that's why I just don't understand.
He said, Zeke, we're with you. We've got your back. Why can't Bill Self say, hey, Zeke, we've got your back? I've got your back.
Say anything at all.
He may as well not have. He may as well not have. It's so strange. And
yes, perfect word for like. Like, what reality are we living in?
We're not the only ones who feel that way. Matt Norlander posted the statement. It made it over to Blue Sky. Matt Norlander covers college basketball for CBS Sports, said program's in a really weird place right now. Joe in the YouTube comment says, I feel like Bill has one foot out the door. I have no evidence, but things feel off. The end of that statement, Joe, I will walk with you on that. Things feel off. That is not the kind of statement you should put out. If you're going to defend your guy, defend your guy. If not, then why are we putting out a statement after a conference loss? Like, it is not as though KU shamed itself in that game. It is not as though Kansas is the first ever blue blood program to have a season that is disappointing relative to expectations. Bill Self's never missed the tournament at KU, and he's not going to start this year. This team is going to the tournament. They're going to have their worst seed in the Bill Self era, but they're going to the tournament. Mike Krzyzewski missed the tournament at Duke. Roy Williams missed the tournament in North Carolina. John Calipari missed the tournament at Kentucky. The Blue Bloods have all had god-awful seasons in recent memory. Like, there's highlight film of this stuff where things have gone totally wrong, totally belly up.
I mean, shoot, just go look at North Carolina now. And I know Hubert Davis isn't Roy, but come on.
And we're acting like a 19-10 record and a middle-of-the-pack conference finish is like the worst thing that has ever happened in the history of Kansas basketball.
And that's where I come from with my comment about it feels like this is acquiescing to, like, weirdos online. Like, yeah, everybody is disappointed. The players absolutely are. They've spoken about it as much. Hunter Dickinson said as much after the game. Bill Self is disappointed. His coaches are. The fans, the program. Like, of course, everybody is down about it. It feels weird that this needs a statement. You know, like last year, we got this statement at the end of the year, like, hey, there are people out there who think that speaking for Bill Self, and I'm paraphrasing his statement here, like, don't like Kevin McCullough or was calling him out. That couldn't be further from the truth. We're just frustrated that he, hasn't been able to get healthy. We feel for him. We're not upset with him. Like, okay, we probably don't need to address, like, baseless rumors anyway, but fine. At least I get it. Like, I just don't. Guys, it's sports. I don't know. Is it because I'm a dad now? Like, do I just have a different perspective on things? Maybe it's because my attention has been with a different basketball program for a lot of the year. Like, hey, KU's second for me right now. Like, I don't know why, but I feel like I've been very calm. I'm not right now, but I feel like I've been very calm. Like, hey, look, this year's disappointing. Like, roster hasn't worked out. I'm sure Bill Self is, to speak about being terminally online. He's the Mr. Krabs meme right now. Like, whoa, everything is spiraling out of control. What's happening? Because you brought in all the star power and it's not working.
Yeah.
But I hate to just kind of brush it off because this year's a disappointment, but like sometimes you have a crappy year.
There's one thing to say you have a disappointing season, but yeah, we're acting like this is
We're still gonna be a top 8 seed.
Tragic and like world altering, life shattering for some of these people.
You know the funny thing? Evan Miyakawa is his full name. He does college basketball advanced analytics. He put out with his numbers and metrics his first bracket guess of the year. Said he has KU as an Elite 8 team. He all season has essentially said, I trust my numbers. I don't trust my eyes. Like, this KU team is way better than they look on the court right now. I don't know that I believe him, but like, it's the NCAA tournament. Anything can happen.
They played at a fairly high level on Saturday. They got by a really good team because the other team threed them. I mean,
41 threes.
Yeah.
It's just strange, man. Yeah. I just don't know why anything needed to be said at all other than don't ever do this to our players. We stand with him. Boom. End of sentence.
Yeah. If you're going to say something and it's not, we have our guys back, then freaking save it. Didn't need to be said. We're going to take a break, come back with our good, bad, ugly from the weekend that was. Matt Verderame's going to join us in a bit to talk NFL football. We're just getting started on a Monday on 580 Sports Talk. do a quick good, bad, ugly from the weekend that was. Brendan, what was your good?
My good, the Washburn basketball teams swept Missouri Southern this weekend.
Yeah,
that
they
was
did.
awesome. But in particular, I want to give a shout out to the director of athletic communications at Missouri Southern, Caitlin Stupak. We had a bit of a technical issue. Needed to get online. We're not quite able to until right before pregame started, but she worked tirelessly along with their IT staff to get us on. So, Caitlin, appreciate you for helping us get on the air for that doubleheader on Saturday.
Spencer Dupuy, what was your good?
Finally washed my car for the first time since I've lived in Kansas.
Hey, good for you.
Yeah.
Man, my car could use
There's one of those little do-it-yourself ones right near where I just moved.
Nice.
So it might become more of a thing.
There you go.
The car appreciates
my
it.
good. I didn't have a lot of good sports from the weekend, but I made these like Italian sausage subs last night for my wife and I, and they went crazy.
My bad is actually more funny than anything. Saturday was also the first time a opposing team's fans have ever threatened me. An old guy at Missouri Southern called me a clown as he walked out. Like, your team looked like clowns getting swept today, buddy. And then I said something to him. I don't know what it was. I didn't curse, nothing like that. I truly blacked out. And he came back, put his finger in my face and said, "Say another word to me and I'll beat your bleeping ass." Take your bleeping ass home, buddy, with that big fat double L.
I would have told him, "Hey, pack a lunch and meet me in the parking lot, old man."
Break you in half.
Yeah. See you writing a check. Let's see if you can cash it.
Spence,
good for you for being a better man than
Thank
I
you.
would have been in that spot.
Yeah, my bad is that I washed my car and it's supposed to snow tomorrow night.
That's awesome. That's good. My bad. The Nuggets are going to beat a good team at some point, right? Like, they've been on national TV 3 times since the All-Star break. They're 0-3. I don't love that.
Not great.
Beat a good team, please. Give me some confidence. Ugly.
John Cena turned heel. He took out Cody Rhodes in Elimination Chamber. Unbelievable.
How can I trust this man now when I see his smiling face at the McDonald's?
700 Make-A-Wish kids sobbing all weekend because of this.
I saw they're going to name the him and The Rock are going to tag team. They're going to call it Break-A-Wish.
That's really good.
You got an ugly, Spencer?
No, at this point I do not. I'm just laughing too.
My ugly is those people on Instagram
that would be mine
and
too.
threatening Zeke Mayo. Terrible, terrible garbage people. Matt Verderame next on 580 Sports Talk.
Matt?
You just don't understand football, Mark. Matt.
Pain heals. Chicks dig stars. Glory. That's forever.
How can you not be romantic about football?
We are joined in the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline by Matt Verderame, national football writer for Sports Illustrated, SI.com. Also appears on That Football Show, the Kansas City Sports Network, and has his own subscriber-only Patreon, The Matt Verderame Show. Joins us every Monday here on 580 Sports Talk. Matt, let's start with the big deal from the weekend in honor of our guy Spencer, a Commanders fan. Deebo Samuel is a Commander, headed from San Francisco to the nation's capital in exchange for a fifth-round pick. What do you think of this move for the Commanders? How much better did they get?
I think it's a good. I think it's a good move from the standpoint that, listen, there's upside to it. You know, Deebo's not wildly old. He is expensive, but they're not taking on a huge number. And they get a fifth-round pick. Like, if I'm Washington, it's worth the risk. If I'm the Niners, you're taking on $31 million dead money to get rid of the guy, which I think kind of tells you what they think of him at this point. But I also think simultaneously, look, if you're Washington, you take the risk and you hope you can get another year or two out of him.
Another wide receiver in the news today as T. Higgins will receive the franchise tag, $26.3 million guaranteed from the Bengals for a second straight year on the tag. Is this just a game of chicken now, do you think, or do you believe that the Bengals will have it in them and that T. Higgins has any interest in a long-term deal in Cincinnati?
Well, I think Higgins would take a long-term deal if they gave him the right number. But I also think, too, like, at this point, there's no hometown discount. There's no, he's not going to do them any favors. Like, they're not, the Bengals are going to pay him. They're going to have to actually pay him, not do this thing that Cincinnati loves to do, where they offer a contract, but it's really light in guarantees and it's structured in a really specific way. Like, they're going to have to go to his representation and say, hey, here's 4 and 120 and 80 million guaranteed. And if they don't do that, if I was T. Higgins' agent, I'd tell the Bengals, look, you might as well trade him because he's not ever playing another down of football for you. And, look, the Bengals in the past, they have been notorious for drawing a line in the sand. They're not going to cross it. They don't care. That's what they do. That's who they are. I just think Higgins now, he played on the one tag. I do not think he's playing on this tag. And if the Bengals are not going to go where they need to go to sign them, then I think there's a very real chance this is a very, very ugly situation.
Matt Verderame is our guest, covers the National Football League for Sports Illustrated and SI.com, as well as the Matt Verderame Show on Patreon and That Football Show on the KC Sports Network. He joins us every Monday at this time to talk all things National Football League. The three guys, Matt, for Cincinnati, to stick with the Bengals here, who are all in search of long-term deals or just to get out of Cincinnati, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Trey Hendrickson. How many of those three guys do you think get long-term deals in Cincinnati when it's all said and done?
I will still sit here and kind of say what I've been saying. I think the answer is one. I think they're going to pay Chase. I think if they don't pay Chase, Burrow is going to justifiably lose his mind. And I think they know it. I also think at some point you have to spend some money. Look, the ironic part of that is Chase is going to be the most expensive of them. And he's probably going to be close to $40 million a year. Like, I think they've waited so long with this now, and Chase is such a great year. I don't think it's crazy to think that Chase is going to get more than Jefferson. In fact, I think it's crazy that you won't. I think he's probably going to get, 4 and doing the math off the top of my head, something like 150 and 110 guaranteed. But Hendrickson is 30 years old. They're not going to pay Hendrickson. It's a huge deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just don't see it. And Higgins, like we talked about, they're going to have to pay him what he's worth on the open market. And I don't see them paying Higgins and Chase $200 million guaranteed between them. I just don't think it's going to happen.
We already mentioned Deebo Samuel leaving the 49ers for the Commanders. Well, there's another wide receiver, and the rumor mill is turning for Brandon Ayuk as well. Last season had the whole holdout situation, eventually signs for a pretty lucrative deal in San Francisco, struggles out of the gate, tears his ACL, Now, there are, again, some rumors out there. I'm sure you've heard them and done some reporting of your own, Matt, on them, that Brandon Ayuk could be traded this offseason. What do you think the likelihood is that the Niners move off of their number one receiver?
Very low. Yes, the rumor mill is going about him, and that's fine. Here's the thing, though, on this. They just paid him over $100 million last year. And now they're going to ship him out for what? He's coming off of a torn ACL. He didn't play well before he had a torn ACL last year. Now some other team is going to take on this huge contract. And also, let's say a team did. Let's say whoever, the Raiders, said, yeah, we'll take him. They're not giving anything for him. Why would they?
Mm-hmm.
They're taking on a huge contract. So if you're the Niners, now you got to have all this egg on your face and a bunch of dead cap. I don't think it happens. And then the other part of that too is like, who the heck's Brock Purdy throwing to? I get it. Yeah, sure. If the Niners got some unbelievable offer, fine. I don't think that unbelievable offer is coming.
NFL Scouting Combine was this past week and weekend. What was your biggest takeaway, biggest news story for you coming out of the Combine in Indianapolis?
Well, while we were there, it was Stafford and the source-off that turned into a near brawl at the Starbucks, which was interesting.
Awesome. Hilarious, I think is the right word for it, Matt.
Wish I was at Starbucks when it happened. Would have loved to tried my hand at being like Howard Cosell during a 15-round fight. But yeah, I mean, look, with Stafford being out of the picture, I guess a few things. So one is the Raiders and the Giants really wanted him. That was real. I think that tells you all you need to know about this quarterback class. There's just nobody in this class anybody looks at and thinks, oh yeah, they're a surefire slam dunk. And not that there ever is truly that, but it kind of tells you what these teams are thinking. It is a very defensive-minded draft. It is heavy on D tackles, pretty good corner class, pretty good edge class. Offensively in this draft, good at running back, great at running back, good at tight ends. Everything else, you are really kind of on a hope and a prayer with a lot of these positions. And look, I think the general sentiment is free agency is not laden with stars. The draft is not laden with big-time blue chippers. And yet, with the cap going up more than people thought, you're going to have teams spending money in ways. I think a lot of people in a week or so are going to go, wow, can you believe that guy got that contract? Well, yeah, I can, because the Patriots have 900 holes on their roster and $130 million in cap space. I think there are going to be some teams that spend very aggressively on guys that are going to be cap casualties in about 3 years.
We're joined by Matt Verderame here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. Matt Verderame of Sports Illustrated. And Matt, a name kind of picking up steam in the trade market is Michael Mayer out of the Raiders after the Raiders drafted Brock Bowers last year, and he impressed. What do you think his market is, / where do you think does he end up when things are said and done with the trade?
Hard to say where he ends up because I think, there are a bunch of teams that'll take on a third-year guy who is almost a first-round pick. But the market is nothing. I mean, the Raiders aren't going to get anything. Why would they? They took him in the second round, and then a year later took his replacement in the first round and then benched him. Why would you give up anything more than a late day 3 pick? Nobody's giving that team a 4th-round pick for him. I think there are going to be teams that absolutely would like to take him and see what he's got. He's young. He's flashed a little bit here and there, but I think at most the Raiders should be thrilled if they got a 5th-round pick. I don't think they'll get that. I think it's a 6th or 7th rounder. It's like value thing. Trades are all about leverage. Well, what leverage do the Raiders have? Nobody's going to go out of their way, especially with this tight end class being good. I think, will they trade him? Yeah, sure. I think they could trade him. I don't think they'll get anything near the original investment.
Another player that's floated to be up for trade, but could likely be a cut as well, is Davante Adams. Where do you think the veteran receiver ends up?
Wherever his quarterback ends up. Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams are joined at the hip. If Rodgers goes to the Giants, I think that's probably where Devontae Adams is going. Look, Adams, I don't think there's any real world he plays with the Jets again. He's currently under contract there, but I have a hard time seeing them trade him. Look, his contract is such that if they trade him, the team taking him on is still paying a big number. And so I think what's going to happen is the Jets will shop him. They'll do their due diligence. Then they'll cut him. They'll save, I think it's $28 million. And then Adams is going to sit there and be able to go somewhere on relatively cheap. And I think it's very likely that wherever Rodgers ends up, Adams will just follow suit.
Last couple of questions for Matt Verderame of Sports Illustrated, SI.com, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline here on 580 Sports Talk. But let's circle back to the Chiefs, Matt. Trey Smith, franchise tagged, widely reported that the Chiefs are going to work out a long-term deal for their Pro Bowl right guard. What do you think that deal ends up looking like? Do they go to 5 years with him, or do they go a more conventional 4-year deal? And how far above Landon Dickerson's $21 million a year do you think they're going to have to go to retain Smith?
I think it's going to at least be $23 million a year. You know, that was one thing in Indianapolis. There was talk amongst people in the league that if Smith got to the open market, he was going to get $25 million a year. So that's why Chiefs ended up tagging him, because I think they knew it. They knew if this thing went on and the Chiefs didn't go to a certain place and he was open to signing with anybody, there was a real shot this thing was going to be $5 and $1.25. Whether or not it's 4 or 5 years, I think it depends. Look, I think the Chiefs would probably go 5 on it if they could, just because it would smooth out some of the cap hits. They did that with Joe Tooney. Obviously, Creed was 4 years. I think this is going to be a market-setting contract. I'd be shocked if it's not. I think if you're Brett Beach, the longer the contract, the easier it is to move money around. You know, Smith is only going to be 26 years old when next season starts. Like, you could still do it. I mean, even if he played the whole contract out, he'd be 30 when it ended. So my guess is this thing ends up being like 5 years, 118 million and 70 guaranteed, 75 guaranteed. I mean, it's going to be a mammoth contract. But I think for the Chiefs, look, if you're trying to put the best offensive line you possibly can out on that field come September, he's part of it. He may be an expensive part of it, but he's part of it.
Take a swing at this one now as we sit here a week before the legal tampering period opens and free agency really gets underway. The Chiefs starting left tackle for 2025. Did he play any snaps for the Chiefs in 2024?
It's a really good question. I don't even know if they know the answer, but my best guess would be that if they don't agree to a long-term deal with Smith prior to the start of free agency, then I would say that, yeah, that guy's probably DJ Humphries. If they get a deal done and they open up cap space, I think they'll take a run at either Ronnie Stanley or Cam Robinson. But in the end, I guess if I had to pick, I'll go conservatively and say Humphries paired with a young player.
Last thing, got about 10 seconds here. What's tail of tape on Rappaport versus Schultz? Like, Rappaport doesn't look like he's very tall, but he might be feisty in a battle.
I think the odds. I think it's like Schultz, like minus 400. Man's got size, got the reach. You'd have to give me good odds to bet Rappaport on that one.
Matt Verderame, he's always our best bet. Mondays on 580 Sports Talk, talking NFL. Read his stuff at Sports Illustrated, SI.com. Check out that football show on the KC Sports Network and his Patreon, The Matt Verderame Show. Matt, always a pleasure. We'll talk next week.
Sounds good. Take care, guys.
That is Matt Verderame. We will step aside for a timeout. Come back, wrap up the 3 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk.
featuring land, equipment, and more. There's something for everyone. Sullivan Auctioneers full-service auctions makes buying and selling safe, simple, and successful. Backed by a trusted team and a competitive bidding platform, Sullivan Auctioneers delivers the power of online auctions at work. Visit sullivanauctioneers.com today and join a global marketplace transforming online options.
Plug into powerful savings with Wire products at Menards. Wire is an American-owned leading manufacturer of building wire for residential, commercial, and industrial applications. Menards stocks convenient, pre-cut lengths of wire and cable products for all of your indoor and outdoor projects. Hurry in now and save big money on Wire at Menards. Plus, check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for all the great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards. We all need someone in our corner, especially when searching for a job. Kansas Works has a network of friendly, knowledgeable professionals who've helped thousands like you build a quality career. Who better to help with writing a resume, finding training, or other personalized services than a fellow Kansan who is closely connected to employers in your area? Kansas Works is in your corner, and it doesn't cost a thing. Just visit kansasworks.com and find a workforce center near you. And that's how Kansas Works.
Sponsored by the Kansas Department of Commerce and aired in cooperation with the station.
WIBW Topeka.
Wrapping up the first hour of 580 Sports Talk. 2 more to go following. Thanks again to Matt Verderame joining us.
Is there anything more NFL than 2 scoopsmen meet at the Starbucks at the Combine and threaten to fight each other?
Which scoops versus scoops brawl in another sport would you most want to see? Or football? You get 2 football scoopsmen you want to see.
Passon versus Heyman. Because Jeff Passon would beat that ass. Without question.
I want to see, why can I remember? Brian Lord, the big guy on ESPN for NBA.
Brian Windhorst.
Brian Windhorst and the new guy.
Shams?
I want to see them try to go at it.
Shams, I don't think Shams has ever been in a fight, and that's probably good.
Not.
He'd lose every one of them.
That, Shams got the coward crouch going. Like,
he knows how to do exactly one thing, and it's look at his phone.
Yeah.
I don't have friends.
And
I talk to my mom.
We know it isn't talk to women. We know it isn't talk to women.
Or men.
No,
or
he
anybody.
talks to Kay Adams. They're dating, right?
They're not actually. Get out of here. Stop it.
Coming up in the 4 o'clock hour, the Chiefs have 7 defensive free agents. We have talked a lot about 2 of them. What about the other 5, and how should the Chiefs replace them if they do not come back? Plus, we'll start the new month on What Is Wrong With You and talk more college hoops. That's all coming up in the 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk.
Show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated in the best hearing aids of 2024 by USA Today, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, just $189.
I
actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 500,000 happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Stay connected for news, sports, weather, and ag on the Voice of Kansas, FM 104.9, 580 AM, WIPW, Topeka.
President Trump says there is no room left for Mexico or Canada, and tariffs of up to 25% will go into effect tomorrow.
It's a very powerful weapon that politicians haven't used because they were either dishonest, stupid, or paid off in some other form. And now we're using them.
CBS's Jill Schlesinger.
I think that investors, or at least the twitchy short-term investors, thought there might be a deal that happened at the very last minute. But you know what? This is not surprising. This is what has been forecast.
The Dow finished nearly 650 points lower. The president also addressed last Friday's shouting match in the Oval Office with Ukraine's president.
I believe that Russia wants to make a deal. I believe certainly the people of Ukraine want to make a deal. They've suffered more than anybody else.
Correspondent Nancy Cordes.
President Trump wants to be the deal maker here. He truly believes that he is the only person who can get Vladimir Putin to the negotiating table to try to hammer out some kind of peace. They think that the Trump-Putin relationship, whatever you make of it, puts Trump in a unique position to try to broker this deal.
In Britain today, Prime Minister Starmer.
Russia is the aggressor. Zelensky is a war leader whose country has been invaded. And we should all be supporting him and not falling over Putin.
There was another close call for the Pope today. Seth Doane has more from Rome.
Pope Francis had 2 acute respiratory crises on Monday, both of them caused by a mucus buildup and also spasms in the airways.
The Pope's been hospitalized for 2 weeks with pneumonia. High wind warnings have prompted the cancellation of some Mardi Gras parades tomorrow in Louisiana. Jefferson Parish President Cynthia Lee Sheng. Meteorologist Craig Allen tells us millions of Americans will feel the effects of the storm system.
This is a multifaceted storm, which will be intensifying to near record strength for the month of March as it moves over towards the Great Lakes. So you've got the threat for these blizzard conditions, high winds, flash flooding, severe weather to the south.
Lighter winds in South Carolina and North Carolina, meanwhile, are helping firefighters put out flames. Wildfires threatened hundreds of homes over the weekend. This is CBS News.
Brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You could save big when you bundle your auto, home, motorcycle, RV, or boat. Visit Progressive.com.
Kansas Information Network News. I'm Lisa Ruttman. A fire that killed one intentionally set.
Investigation into the fire at a home in the 400 block of Southeast California Avenue on Tuesday shows the fire was intentionally set by the man who died in that blaze. Fire crews arrived early Tuesday morning to find the single-story home involved, showing both flames and smoke. After the fire was extinguished, the body of 34-year-old Darren Weather was found. Topeka Fire is not seeking any suspects in the case.
Representative Sharice Davids has criticized the Trump administration for canceling a $2.4 billion contract with Verizon and transferring work on the Federal Aviation Administration's traffic control system to Elon Musk's company, Starlink. Davids says it's a conflict of interest. This is Kansas Information Network News.
When is now better than later?
Okay, when I say now, you pull the ripcord. Ready? Now! Pull the parachute. I'm kind of hungry. Gonna have a snack first.
Sometimes it's just not as good to wait till later. Right now, it's Central Time. Get rewarded with Life Now rewards from Central National Bank. It's even easier to save money for life by helping you save money today. With discounts and savings on things you use most, Life Now rewards offers cell phone protection, $2,500 identity theft protection, identity theft assistance, and more. Live now, right now, with rewards from Life Now. Only from Central National Bank. Call or visit centralnational.com to learn more. Cell phone protection and personal identity protection are subject to additional terms and conditions.
Can we pull it now? In a minute. Good apple. You want to buy? Central National Bank. Money for life.
Member FDIC in your hometown since 1884.
When challenging conditions arise, we don't back down. We up our game, outpacing the competition with innovations fueled by Bayer's R&D, keeping you equipped with an expanded portfolio, elite genetics, and additional local test plots. Channel leads the field, so you can rise above. See how you can save at channel.com/finance24. Read and follow pesticide label directions, grain marketing, and other stewardship practices.
Your updated forecast on 580 WIBW. A high wind warning begins at noon tomorrow and remains in effect until noon Wednesday. Cloudy skies expected this afternoon with a high of 60. Winds out of the south 10 to 20 miles an hour. Lows around 52. Tonight storms with heavy rain likely. A dusting of snow tomorrow night. I'm meteorologist Ray Miller in the Capital Federal Weather Center. Right now, it's 60 degrees.
Stay connected online at 580WIBW.com.
Let's get it. Hour number 2 of this Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Back from the weekend. Hope you're all having as good a Monday as it is possible to have. And we appreciate you spending some of it with us. We hope we're helping to make it better in some small way here on the Sports Voice of Kansas. 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and streaming in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and on Facebook at WIBW News. Gang's all here. Dan Lucero, Brendan Rosinski, Spencer Dupuis, at least for one more hour. And then Brendan's got a very special episode of the Washburn Basketball Coaches Show because it's tournament time.
It is indeed tournament time. MIAA tournament begins overall on Wednesday with the 7-10 games and 8-9 games for both the men and the women. The Washburn men play on Thursday in their first game. The women not until Friday for their first game of the tournament. We've got the Washburn Basketball Coaches Show tonight to get ready for the MIAA tournament from 6 until 7. Half an hour with Coach Brett Ballard, half an hour with Coach Laura Westling as we get ready for the MIAA tournament and reflect on this weekend as well. So fired up about that coming up tonight, 6 to 7, live from Skinny's Sports Bar and Grill. This will be the 4th different day of the week we've had the Coaches Show on this year.
How about
What's the Monday special?
I don't know because I've never been on a Monday. I recorded our ad for it, but I don't actually remember.
I had to ask my question. Here's my typical question when it's a different day of the week.
You're probably about burgered out, though, because you had a couple of Brahms trips on the weekend.
I did have multiple Brahms trips. I had one on Wednesday. I had one on Saturday. And let me tell you, if there was a Brahms in town, I'd do it again today. It was delicious.
Come on, Brahms, build it. Build out the building you own on Topeka Boulevard.
It was so dang good, man. It's so delicious. I have to sit in the parking lot to eat it, though. I go to the drive-thru, but it's a little too big to eat while driving. I've tried before, always ends in a mess.
Yeah, I made that mistake coming back from Hutch last year.
Yeah.
And
been there.
When I stopped off at, I can't remember which one it was. It was not, it wasn't in Hutch because there's too many darn people there because everybody after the tournament was there.
Yeah.
So I just got back on the road and I lost like half the burger.
Yeah, it's the same way in Emporia at the 5A tournament. Oh, man, great day of games. I'm going to go grab a bag of burgers. Wrong. No. Unless you want to wait till 3 a.m.
Another word of caution to anybody who may want to order a bag of burgers. That is 5 decent-sized hamburgers. It is not 5 sliders for what is it, $7.25
$7.95, I think.
$7.95?
Something like $7.25
for the
maybe.
For the bag of burgers. It used to be $5. We used to have a country. We used to have a proper country.
Yeah, well, now eggs are $8.
Yeah.
You
know what you need? You need an egg hookup. You need the egg plug.
You do. You need an egg plug.
We've got an egg plug. We've got a fairly close neighbor who sells eggs.
They've
had to raise their prices too, but we've got an egg plug.
Must be nice. Next time I need to like dredge some chicken fried steak or something, I'll hit you up for an egg.
I have a
May I offer you a nice egg?
Can I have an egg?
This trying time.
The egg is 75 cents.
My son's got like toy eggs. Okay, like it's a dozen toy eggs, and they break in half, but they unscrew and like you match the shape and the color.
Sure,
it's like there's like a red star, or blue moon, or something like that. There's a dozen of these eggs. Number one, these are definitely the toy that I am most likely to break an ankle on because they're small and they roll around, and I'm going to step on one and absolutely shatter my femur. But every time that my son has them out, and if he gets fussy, I will reach down and grab one and say, Asher, may I offer you an egg in these trying times? My wife has never watched an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So, again, this is one of those things that is only funny to me, but it's really funny to me.
That's a great scene. It's one of my favorite scenes in the whole show. Really it's tremendous.
Is. Text from the 785. But by the way, you can text the show, 785-272-9429. Ask what makes Brahms so good.
The ice cream is great.
Yes.
The chocolate shake here.
Chocolate shake.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I always get it. There's no upcharge when you get a combo. Like, I get the number 2. And usually if you're like, oh, I want the number 2, but instead of a pop, I'm going to get a shake. Most places, oh, that's nice. Hope you got $2 extra. Nerd. Not at Brahms. You get the shake, normal price. It's awesome. The ice cream is phenomenal if you get another ice cream dish. The fries are pretty good. I'm not usually a fry guy, but theirs are pretty good. Mine weren't super salty on Saturday, but that's all right.
Hey, the crinkle fries.
Yeah,
solid.
I like the crinkle fries. I'm a big crinkle fry fan if I'm going to get them. And the burgers are very good.
Just good food. It's fresh.
It is fresh. Yes. Maybe not the most elite of the fast food burgers, but far better than passable.
And it gets the bonus for being like a special treat for us here in Topeka that don't get it all the time. So
yes.
That's the Brahms difference.
Well, I figured I'm not going to be in the state for God only knows how long, or out in Salina or Emporia and for the foreseeable future. Got to go take care of, take advantage while I'm there.
Also get a shout out on the 785 to the sauce. The Brahms sauce is fire.
Yes,
according to that listener. Trevor in the YouTube comments also says Brahms is insanely good.
I'll talk Brahms. I'll talk fast food all day.
We will.
Can we be the reason that Brahms actually builds out the building they own on Topeka Boulevard?
Preferably.
Yeah. I hope they invite us to the ribbon cutting.
Yes. Like we will do a live show from there.
We absolutely will.
Trade. We'll do trade.
Hit our line. Absolutely. Text the show, 785-272-9429. You can also comment on the live chat feature if you're watching our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. If you're watching live, there is a chat on the web browser and in the mobile app. You can interact with us as we go along. Trevor says, your voice makes Monday tolerable, Dan. Thank you, Trevor. I put that one on the screen for everyone to see. I'm very proud.
What about our voices?
He didn't say anything.
Sound like crap.
Yeah, didn't say anything about the two.
I guess for the Brendan and I, you're the only reason the show is tolerable.
I swing the pendulum back really far in the good direction, I suppose. Anyway, thank you for being with us again here on 580 Sports Talk. Later on this hour, we're going to talk a little more college hoops. We're going to convene the David Gasson Appreciation Society after K-State beat Colorado on Sunday. Boy, Colorado stinks. And then they lost their best player to injury like early in the game on Sunday.
Yeah, it's tough.
I think Tad Boyle's going to survive. I know a lot of people, obviously he's a Jayhawk. People are rooting for Tad Boyle to do well, and he's done a really nice job over the years at Colorado. And I'm not sure they could hire anyone better than Tad Boyle, to be completely honest.
Almost certainly.
Yeah, I hope he hangs on. Man, it's been a dire.
Coach Prime, what do you know about hoop? You played 2 sports. What about a third?
How about a third? Do you have any sons who are good at basketball?
Do we know if he has any that are good at football?
Do you know like a Travis Hunter, but for basketball? I
bet you Travis Hunter could put up at least like 6 points a game in the Big 12.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely he could.
Real quick side note, just we're already off topic here.
Here we are.
One of the coolest things about the draft process, I don't really love Coach Prime and his public persona. I will give him credit for having a better year at Colorado this year. And I think Travis Hunter is awesome. Don't let your dislike of Deion Sanders cloud your view of Travis Hunter being an awesome player. But how many times did we see over the course of this season, people like, oh, Travis Hunter's going to win the Heisman for being mid at 2 positions. Snap count shouldn't win you the Heisman. Like the dumbest narrative possible.
Yes.
Listening to NFL people at the combine or who are getting into the draft season, the Mina Kimeses, the Nate Tices, people like that of the world, they talk about him like he's the greatest prospect they've ever seen. Like I listen to a lot of NFL podcasts and all of them like, yo, this dude is a freak. Don't ever call anyone generational again unless they're Travis Hunter, because this dude is literally one of a kind. It's so cool to me that like people who do this for a living and aren't biased because they don't like Deion Sanders or like they have college football message board brain are like, no, wait, actually this dude's awesome. This dude is a superstar and he should go with the first pick, which I sort of am starting to lean toward agreeing with.
Yeah. And they can't figure out what side of the ball they want to put him on. Like you ask 16 teams, you might get 8 answers from.
Yep.
Yeah, he's wide receiver, 8 answers. He's a cornerback. I think it's probably easier because I think you want to get the most out of that player, and that would be to use him on both sides of the ball. But it's a heck of a lot easier to be a full-time corner with a special package of plays at wide receiver than to be a full-time wide receiver and, oh yeah, you're going to get a few snaps against somebody's wide receiver 1 or a few snaps in the slot.
Yeah.
Like I think that's the path. I think that's probably where it's going, but who knows? I don't know. Maybe somebody will draft him and put him at running back.
It'd be fun.
I don't care. Yeah, like
I just want to see him play.
That's one of those like the old story about when Michael Jordan entered the draft and the Trailblazers drafted Sam Bowie instead, and somebody was explaining to Bobby Knight, who had been Jordan's Olympic coach, why they would take Sam Bowie. They said, "Hey, we needed a center," and Bobby Knight said, "Draft Michael Jordan and play him at center then." So like, yeah, any team that needs a skill guy, we really could use running back. Play him at running back.
Bobby Knight was a jerk, but he was also a savant. That man knew hoop.
Yes, he did. Wanted to start this hour, though, with some football. The Chiefs have 7 what I would call key defensive free agents. And the word key is doing a lot of work for some of these guys. Uh-huh. But Bill Barnwell broke down all of essentially the defensive free agents in the league and ranked them in tiers, like Pro Bowl caliber starter, starting caliber player, starter on a good team, like different tiers for all of these guys. And there were 7 Chiefs players that turned up on Bill Barnwell's list. And 2 of them we have talked a lot about, Nick Bolton and Justin Reed. You're not changing my mind that I think Nick Bolton is going to be a Kansas City Chief moving forward. Like, I will believe that until the day it does not happen. And I will be like, knock me over with a feather shocked if Nick Bolton does not get a 3-year contract extension to remain a Chief.
I won't.
And why is that?
I just don't think they can afford him.
Oh, I think they can afford him. I don't think that's. I
don't think they can afford him.
I think the salary cap concerns. What else are they going to do with the money?
Justin Reed.
You think they would prioritize Reed over Bolton?
I think Reed is cheaper. I think they can get 2 or 3 guys for cheaper than they can get Bolton.
I don't disagree with you,
solid.
But none of those guys wear the green dot on defense.
Also, the Chiefs just hate safeties over the age of like 26. Because they're going to do the same thing with Justin Reed that happened with Tyrann Mathieu. Justin Reed is just a lower profile player than Tyrann Mathieu. I think that's why no one talked about it.
See, I would love to see the Chiefs keep both guys.
I would too.
Because I think Justin Reed, his versatility and his understanding and reading of the game,
super smart.
That's the stuff that is really important in a Steve Spagnuolo defense. That's the kind of stuff Spags really value.
Mm-hmm.
It's why they value Nick Bolton the way that they do. Like, ask 10 different Chiefs fans, what do you think of Nick Bolton? You will get 10 different answers. You will get people that think he should be a Pro Bowler every year, that he's underrated. You will get people talking about, he's overrated, he's slow, he can't cover. You whatever you want to see with Nick Bolton is what you will see. Whatever prism you choose to look at him through is what you're going to find. But Steve Spagnuolo says he's the Patrick Mahomes of the defense. Man, those are his words. Like, does that sound like a guy that they're just going to let walk if that's how important he is to the defense? So for me,
I'd be surprised.
For me, Bolton's a guy who's going to stay. Justin Reed, that's the guy, Spencer, that I think might get priced out depending on what a team might give him. If there's a 4-year deal out there for Justin Reed, which he's 28. Like, it's not like he's rounding the corner into his 30s. He's going to get a nice third deal here.
Yes.
And I could see him getting priced out of the Chiefs' range. The Chiefs may also be looking at it like we've got a binary here because Brian Cook is a free agent next offseason. Do we want to keep Brian Cook or do we want to keep Justin Reed? Who's going to be the guy who leads the secondary moving forward alongside, we assume, Jaden Hicks? And I think Reed is a better player right now. I thought Cook was a little disappointing this past season.
Agreed.
Didn't make a lot of plays. But I also think that when you talk about like game intelligence, reading of the game, those kinds of things, Brian Cook, I think, has the capability to do that. And it may be that next year we start to see what that looks like if indeed Justin Reed isn't on the team. I think if he's not on the team, then the in-house replacement is it's just Brian Cook and Jaden Hicks. And maybe Cook's in a bit of a different role in the Justin Reed role, and Hicks is in the Cook role.
I imagine a top 3 round pick will be used on a safety if that's the case. That would be my assumption.
For a third safety?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't disagree. I'm not being dismissive. I
hear you.
Yeah,
I hear you.
Yeah. I want to get to the defensive line, though, because there are 5 free agents on the defensive line for the Chiefs. One of them is Joshua Uche. What in the world was that all about? You want to talk about, has there ever been more ado about nothing than the Joshua Uche trade?
They thought they saw upside, and then they actually came and started practicing with him, and then they were like, no.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, Spencer. And there are, you don't have every practice film or you don't hear everything, and you can't go, oh, well, who'd they get him from the Patriots?
Yeah.
You can't be like, oh, Patriots, what do you think this guy's worth? Oh, a day 2 pick. You got to give us the best pick you possibly can.
There's great work ethic, great everything, just because they want the trade to go through.
Right, exactly. So I'm glad the Chiefs did it. I'm surprised they didn't try it a little bit more. He's not going to be back. Can we all agree on that at the very least?
Yeah. We have a motion and we have a second. Joshua Uche, we hardly knew ye. And I mean,
quite literally.
Yeah, like
how many snaps did he play this year?
That is a great question. Take a guess. I want you to guess
4.
the number. Oh, it was more than that.
On the defensive side?
I have the number up in front of me.
It was definitely more than 4.
12.
It was more than that. It was 87 snaps. And honestly,
I feel like he was inactive.
How
more
many
than
of those were in the Denver game?
Okay.
Maybe all of them.
Okay, yeah, I take that back.
They
I
were
forgot
on
about
the field
Denver
a lot
game.
that day.
It may have been damn near every single snap he took.
If you take out the Denver game, how many snaps was he on the field?
He played. Yeah, oh my God, he did. He played 50 snaps against Denver, which would leave
37 in 5 other games.
7 snaps.
He played about 5 snaps a game in 5 games. Yeah,
man. Yeah, he went from 9 snaps in his debut, which he's getting used to the new system. And hey, he made 2 tackles against Tampa Bay. 11 snaps, no stats against the Broncos. 5 snaps, no stats against the Bills. 11 snaps, no stats against Carolina. 1 snap against the Raiders. Inactive for 4 weeks.
Woof.
50 snaps against Denver. He had 8 tackles in that game. That's probably a career high. But anyhow, Josh Uche not returning. What about Charles Omenihu? What kind of money do you think there is out there for Omenihu? And do you think the Chiefs should bring him back? Or do you think that the Omenihu role next year, for better or for worse, ought to be handed off to Felix Anudike-Uzomah and just say, hey, look, it's year 3 for a first-round pick. It's time to go. It's time to see what you got.
Well, to that point, I think what they do with Omenihu will tell us what the future looks like for Felix Anudike-Uzomah. Because if you bring Omenihu back and you're intentionally putting FAU as your third edge again, that probably tells you all you need to know about him.
Yeah. Spotrack's market value for Omenihu, 4 years, just shy of $48 million. So you're talking just shy of $12 million a year for Charles Omenihu.
Yeah, it's not bad if you get production. I mean, $12 million a year for a starting edge is pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, I think another team's going to take a flyer on him, a 1-year deal, prove it deal.
I don't think he gets a prove it deal. I think that he showed that he came off the knee injury and he was healthy and he was effective. I think that what you saw with Omenihu down the stretch is what you get. And I do think he's probably going to get something along the lines of 3 years.
He's younger than you realize. He's only 20. He'll turn 28 this season.
Yeah.
I would have said he's close to 30.
if you're the Chiefs and you don't do it, then you have to look at your pass rush group and say, okay, well, who can win one-on-one? We know Chris Jones can. Karlaftis can win with effort, a one-on-one, but like who's beating somebody with power? Who's beating somebody on the interior? Like Amenahu's the guy. And either you believe that Felix is or can be a guy like that, and you're ready to pass the torch, or you're not. And if you're not, that really would not bode well for the improvement of the former Kansas State Wildcats.
Do you think you can get, if you're the Chiefs, one of the other good above average pass rushers that are on the market? Guys that include DeMarcus Lawrence, old. He'll be 33 this season. Josh Sweat, good in his prime.
Josh Sweat is going to get monster money.
Awesome in the Super Bowl.
He made himself so much money in that Super Bowl.
Those are your two best. DeMarcus Walker of the Bears, okay. I don't know that you're getting older than Amenahu. You're probably about a similar level of player.
A lot of other guys would be a flyer. Like,
you taking a shot on Chase Young?
I was just about to bring up Chase Young.
Athleticism's there.
It certainly is.
Can you think of two more opposite players if you had a starting defensive end group of George Karlaftis and Chase Young? One dude, decent physical traits, unreal motor, just gonna beat your brains in with his strength and drive. The other dude, all the physical traits you could ever want with like 10-cent work ethic in Chase Young.
So
complete opposites.
So Charles Amenahu is in Bill Barnwell's tier 4 of defensive ends, edge rushers, essentially. He's on the same tier with Dante Fowler, Malcolm Kuntz, Azeez Ojulari, Marcus Davenport, Calais Campbell, who's a million years old, and Baron Browning, who got traded to the Cardinals from the Broncos, and also 4 guys that could end up getting cut: Leonard Floyd, Draymond Jones, Von Miller, and Zadarius Smith.
Like a couple of those guys, I'd be willing to take a flyer on.
I think he's better than a lot of those guys.
I think so too. You're probably in a spot like a lot of teams are with quarterback. Like, in theory, we could improve. What are the actual chances we get a better player? Right? So, again, I think this is another position the Chiefs would be really smart to use a fairly high pick on this year. I would not at all complain, to be honest with you, the Chiefs first, because they have picks in the first 3 rounds, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. 4 picks in the first 3 rounds.
4 picks in the first 3 rounds. I would not at all complain, positionally speaking, if 3 of those 4 picks were a safety, an edge rusher, a true 4-3 defensive end, and a running back.
I can see that.
I would have no qualms at all if those were 3 of the 4 positions that went in that first group.
For the record, here are the guys above Amenahu on the tier of the capable starters tier. You mentioned DeMarcus Lawrence already. Matthew Judon hits free agency. Khalil Mack. Dayo Odenigbo from the Colts. He's interesting because he's super tall.
Yeah.
He's 6'6". Hassan Reddick, who's obviously had the whole thing with the Eagles. Chase Young, who we already mentioned, and then potential cap casualties, Harold Landry and Joey Bosa.
I would take a shot on either Mack or Bosa. I know they're going to be pricey, and I know that Bosa has all the injuries. Plus, the concern there is, are they going to be as good hand in the dirt versus standing up, which they did with the Chargers this past season? I would take a shot on either of those 2 dudes, to be honest with you, because I still think they've got a lot left.
The thing with Bosa is you're either getting 15 sacks or you're getting like 4 games.
Or you're getting 15 snaps.
Yeah. All right. Lastly, I want to get to the defensive tackle group because the Chiefs have 3 of these guys that are free agents: Derek Nottie, Turk Wharton, and Mike Pennell.
Now, 3 of the 5 on the on the active roster.
On the depth chart, right? Like, God, who else is who is it? Tupolotu and Chris Jones?
Yeah.
So I think you've got to bring at least one of these guys back.
Yeah. I will say I remember during training camp that Matt Derrick said that Fabian Lovett, defensive tackle, was up-and-coming guy that they liked.
Yeah, good pull. That's true. He did say that.
And I think he landed on the injured reserve.
I'm double-checking that.
Or they signed him to a futures deal.
Futures deal, not long after the Super Bowl. So, he's a guy that is certainly a name to remember for the Chiefs. Spent all of last year on the practice squad, so they liked him enough to keep him
around. I'll be honest with you. I think there's a very real scenario that sees none of the 3 return. I would bring Turk Wharton back.
Yeah. I would too. I thought Turk was really good this last year.
I have a feeling Turk Wharton's going to get not like a huge payday. But I think Turk Wharton's going to get, some cash from somebody. What is he now, 26, 27?
I think that's correct. I want to check what Spotrac says about his market value, too. I'm really curious. He is 26.
26 years
turns
old.
27 in June. Projected average annual value about $7.5 million. So 3 years, 22
and a half.
22 and a half.
Is that what the math would be?
That would be the math.
I don't know that the Chiefs would pull the trigger on that. I think somebody else in the NFL would, and that's not to say the Chiefs don't like him. I just don't know that they want to wrap up that much money. And you can massage the cap, of course, but I don't know that they want to wrap up that much money in a guy who is obviously not like the future. Because you've got to look, Chris Jones probably has another year or two left of really good play, but you've got to start looking toward, okay, what is this line going to look like in 27, 28? As much as I like Turk Wharton, he's not that guy.
The draft also really strong at defensive tackle. Yes. And a lot of the mock drafts have some, I think guys who are dudes, guys who are potential 3-down players as rookies who could fall all the way down to where the Chiefs pick at number 31.
I said this name last week, and I will say it to you again. If he falls into the 20s, the Chiefs should make a trade to go get Kenneth Grant from Michigan. Go find a way to get that football player.
A lot of mock drafts say you won't have to trade up to get
Which
Kenneth
is
Grant.
Nuts
I know
to
it.
me.
I know it.
What?
Game wrecker. Game wrecker in college.
You know who is rooting for Tyler Shuck to be a first-round pick? The Chiefs. Tyler Shuck, Jackson Dart. Let's get some quarterbacks in here. Let's take some flyers on quarterback. Steelers, come get your man. Come draft some of these bummy quarterbacks so that Kenneth Grant for sure falls. Dude, I would take him in the top 15.
I don't know that I'm that high on him, but I do. I think he's awesome.
He's a stud.
I think that's the position that the Chiefs could really target with the 31st overall pick, and that would certainly lessen the need. Like Mike Pennell is just on call at this point. Like a lot of guys.
If you need him, he'll be around.
Yeah, Bill Barnwell points this out. Like a lot of guys with that skill set tend to be really itinerant at the end of their careers and just go from team to team. But and Mike Pennell's kind of hung around Kansas City for a while. Like he's got the local ties. Like he might be a guy that you just keep because he's like he'll do 1 year, $2 million or something along those lines. And Derek Nottie might honestly be in a similar spot in his career right now. Chiefs are the only organization he's ever known. He's hit free agency before and come back to the Chiefs.
Yeah, that one entirely just comes down to do the Chiefs want him? Because I don't think he'd get anything more than a vet minimum anywhere else. So that one is truly just the Spags want him back.
Does they want him back or do they want to get younger at the spot? We're going to take a break here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, it's our first What Is Wrong With You of the month of March here on 580 WIBW. It is What Is Wrong With You time for the first time in the month of March here on 580 Sports Talk, sponsored by our guy Mo, State Farm agent Ryan Mowinkle. Check out the website, ryanmowinkle.com. See what Mowinkle Insurance and Financial Services can do for you. Or go to the Dairy Queen there on 29th and what is that, Gage near, and then just pop in across the street.
Yeah, that's true.
Go see Mo. He's
I
right
have done
there.
that myself, in fact, when I've been over to see our guy Mo. It's like 2:30, show's about to start, finished up a meeting. You know what I could really go
They
for?
just open up Pancho's over there. Like, he's got primo real estate.
God dang, that sounds good. Mo, I might swing on by, talk business with you, and grab some lunch one of these days.
2 new stories competing today. By the way, our February champion, in case you missed it, was the meth cannon. So that joins the
so good.
It's really fun to say. That joins the list of our monthly champions for our tournament champions coming in December.
The 2 contestants for the monthly champion could have been a yearly.
Yes.
Gone up each other for one of the
very.
Monthly, they each could have been monthly champs.
It was a very strong month. How do we begin March? Spencer, give it to us.
All right, we're going to go to St. Louis County, Missouri. A woman in Missouri was arrested for allegedly pointing a gun at a Dunkin' employee over cold food. According to the Rock Hill Police, Ebony Gaither has been charged with unlawful use of a weapon, assault, and property damage. Police said the situation started at an area Dunkin' restaurant on February 21st. Gaither started arguing with an employee over the food being reportedly cold. She received a refund for the order, but the confrontation continued. Officers said Gaither smashed a ceramic tip container and threw food at the employee. The employee followed Gaither to her car and recorded the incident on her cell phone. Police said Gaither then pointed a gun at the employee.
Okay.
Whoa!
That's a necessary escalation.
Yeah. When the employee told Gaither that she would get the police involved, the woman got out of her car and allegedly attempted to punch her. Police said the interaction was caught on video and Gaither was taken into custody.
Yeah, it's never going to go well for you if you decide you're going to pull a gun on somebody and swing on somebody over some cold food.
Yeah. So,
like, you got the refund. Take your win and get out of there, man. Woman, I guess.
Look, I've shared it before on the air, the indignity of having something thrown at you when you're the cashier at a fast food establishment. Don't treat people like that. Don't throw food at me, bro.
Yeah, good rule of thumb. Like, you got what you wanted. You were upset about the food being cold, substandard service. It happens. They refunded you. They didn't have to do that. There's no law that says they have to do that, but they did it. You got your $3.27 back. Your little English muffin sandwich wasn't hot. You got your money back. Keep it moving.
Yeah. Go to another Dunkin' Donuts.
Take your food to the office and warm it up in the microwave. Nuke it.
Yeah, I don't understand this.
Pull out.
Don't make your bad day my problem.
Yes. Pull out the heater over some cold Dunkin'. People really.
She got the refund too. Like, she literally.
Yeah. She got what she wanted.
She got the refund and she just continued.
Can't leave well enough alone.
I guess good thing she tried to punch the employee instead of shooting at her.
Yeah, that's true.
This could have been a lot worse.
Could have been much worse.
Well, if it could have been as worse as it could be, it wouldn't have been a What Is Wrong With You.
That's true.
That is true. For my story, we're going to LaPorte, Indiana, where 27-year-old Zachariah Vigil got his car stuck on the railroad tracks and was able to safely get out of the car before the train struck his car and tore it up to smithereens. 2 reasons why you might get your car stuck on the train tracks. I guess there are 3. 1, honest mistake. That one doesn't happen all that often. The train tracks are there for a reason. They're pretty clearly marked, typically speaking.
Typically.
That's not what happened here. This guy was real drunk and looking at pictures of his girlfriend's boobs. That's what happened here. It was 2 a.m. Monday, the day after the Super Bowl. Vigil was driving to his girlfriend's house after watching the big game. Apparently he had a few brews while he was watching. Vigil told investigators he became distracted by the sight of his girlfriend's breasts as they were FaceTiming, which caused him to drive up on the rails next to the crossing at Orchard Avenue and 2nd Street. Police said Vigil tried pushing the car off the tracks before the vehicle was struck by the freight train. His blood alcohol content, 273.
Okay.
How is he alive?
273. To give you a little bit of context, that is 2 points higher than Salvador Perez's batting average last season.
Okay, so obviously this guy's a bum, right?
Yeah.
The girlfriend here deserves at least part of the blame, right?
Don't FaceTime and drive.
No, that's ridiculous. And her, like, hey, I want to make sure you get home. I'm not going to flash you on FaceTime while you're driving. We can talk in 10 minutes when you get here. He deserves the majority of the blame. I'm not trying to put it all on her, but you've got to be looking out for your significant other's safety here, especially if they just were at Britt Zweigert's Super Bowl party and were downing vodka all night.
Not enough poppy seed bread to sop up the alcohol content there in the in the vodka at the Super Bowl party. It would be
listening.
Person in another room listening.
It would be one thing if, like, okay, you live in a big city, like they live in Indianapolis, and it's going to be like, man, I really want to see my girlfriend. We're nothing going on in 45 minutes, but I got to get across town, one end of town to another. I got to go around the belt loop interstate there in Indianapolis, like 2 a.m. You're feeling a certain kind of way. Look, we've all been there, but LaPorta, Indiana is like 21,000 people. It'd take you 5 minutes to get across town. And I'm not that far away from getting to where you need to go.
This is just
FaceTiming, driving drunk, and distracted by your girlfriend's nudity.
Man, I really thought I was going to go with yours because that's a dang good story. Put them away, lady. Let him drive home.
Yeah,
and bro, you're going to get yours. I promise.
They're better in person.
Typically, yes. Better enjoyed in person.
Yeah, that part, yes.
Text from the 785 says, watching the boob tube, see what happens?
Oh, my gosh.
And a text from the 816 offers the Double D drunk driver. And that is the name. Yes, 4D for short. And that is the name of our first weekly champion for the month of March.
Daily.
Daily champion.
Fun fact, LaPorte, Indiana, hometown of former Orlando Magic guard and Chicago Bulls coach Scott Skiles.
How about that?
That's what I've got for you.
How about that? That's What Is Wrong With You, sponsored by Ryan Mowinkle. Go visit his website, ryanmowinkle.com, MOHWINKLE.com. We're taking a break, come back, and convene the David Gasson Appreciation Society after this break here on 580 Sports Talk. 446 on 580 Sports Talk. Man, I really could go for a chili cheese dog. Shout out Britt Zweigert and his Super Bowl party.
Coney Footlong?
I'd do a Coney
Perhaps.
Footlong from Sonic. Absolutely, I would. It's all we're doing all the free advertising for places today.
Hit me up.
Hit our line.
Y'all know the number.
Coming up on the show, we'll talk a little Royals baseball. Royals back in the win column in the Cactus League with back-to-back wins. Victorious today over the Rangers in surprise, 6-3. We'll talk a little Royals baseball. We'll also preview Big Monday tonight, KU and Houston coming up from the Fertitta Center. K-State with a win last.
I prefer the Frittata Center, personally.
All right.
Now that sounds good.
Been a minute.
Frittata.
Been a minute since I've had one of those.
What about the Fritos Center?
I would also eat that.
We just doing foods that start with F now? Is that what we're doing?
The Frankfurter Center?
The Fresca Center?
You can do this all day.
Clearly you could. K-State 65, Colorado 56 last night. Look, I get it. It's not real fun to talk about K-State basketball, but they did. They won. They snapped their 4-game winning streak or losing streak. Played well. I don't think the final score is really reflective of how much control K-State had of the game, and that was even without Coleman Hawkins, without Moby Ike-Garuka, who did not play. Dave Gasson, though, another 20-point game for Big Dave. So we call this meeting of the David Gasson Appreciation Society to order. David Gasson went over 1,000 career points scored over his now 149 career games. That's a lot of games. 5 full seasons, essentially. Although he didn't play a ton, 21 games. He didn't play a ton as a freshman at Virginia Tech. He took his extra year this year and is having a career season. 13 points, 7 rebounds per game. Shooting 62% from the field, which is a conference-leading total.
That's wild.
Has bumped his free throw shooting up a bit. Last year it was down to 63%. This year it's up to 66%. This season hasn't been what anybody with K-State wanted it to be. There is no doubt about that. David Gasson as a player is not without his foibles. We have talked about it. He's a bit of an awkward fit in the sense that he's not like tall or thick enough to be a true center in the sense that like he can't bang with a Hunter Dickinson or the kid for Houston, Javier Francis.
Yeah.
Like the really big bigs. He's not built to bang with those guys.
He's a tweener.
But yeah, he can't shoot it. Like he can't even really like do the Naquan Tomlin stuff. Like Naquan Tomlin was a stretch 4.
NBA player Naquan Tomlin.
Yes, he is in the NBA now. Congratulations, Naquan. That's really cool. He's not really that because he's never been a real proficient three-point shooter. He's 27% for his entire career from 3, so you can't really play him at the 4. Besides, with this year's roster, Coleman Hawkins kind of needs to be in and play the 4. So Gasson and Hawkins works in a sense. You're giving something up on the defensive end for sure, but that combination of the 4 or 5 works, and basically no other combination has, particularly with Ugo and Yenso not playing particularly well for the better part of this season when he's gotten opportunities. So it is an awkward fit, and it's part of the reason that Kansas State has struggled and had the year that they've had, though. They still have an outside shot of finishing 500 in the conference. If they win out and they finish 500 in the conference,
be wild.
Yeah, nothing to shake a stick at in one of the best leagues in America.
It would be awesome for them to beat Iowa State.
But Gasson has been the guy every single night who has brought it. I have not watched a single K-State game this year and been like, well, man, they needed more out of Gasson than they got. Part of that is a player like him, you're not counting on for 20 a night.
Right.
But he has always delivered the effort, and he has always delivered the energy, and it has been really cool, really rewarding to have seen him go from the player he was when he got to campus, when he Elite 8 year, 22, 23, first year under Tang, to the player that he's become now, where he is more well-rounded at the rim as a finisher. He used to be a little bit iffy if he got the ball around the rim. Like, is this layup going to go in? Or he's gotten much better as a finisher, to the point where, again, he is leading the conference in field goal percentage with 8 field goal attempts a game, 8.5 field goal attempts a game.
Crazy.
And he has improved his effort on defense, improved his ability, even given his size limitations, to hang in there as a defensive player against some of the conference's better bigs. He has been a heart and soul player for these Kansas State Wildcats. And I think as K-State looks to the future and looks to the kind of program they want to be, David Gasson is kind of the beacon of light. He is the guy where when you go to the transfer portal, if you're Jerome Tang, these are the guys I want.
Mm-hmm.
I want the David Gassons who it just didn't work at the first place you were at for whatever reason. You're looking for a new home, but we've got you for 2-3 years and we can help you develop. We can watch you grow. And we know that every night, because you've had to work for everything, nothing was given to you, nothing was promised to you. We know every single night you're going to bust your whole entire ass.
Yep.
And be a leader in that sense. I don't know how vocal a guy David Gasson is. You know, I don't think he's quite as vocal as a Coleman Hawkins is, but as far as a leader by example, few are. As far as a leader by example, you couldn't ask for a better one than David Gasson. And it's been really cool to watch him this season grow into the player that he's become. I think he could be a second team All Big 12. Like if I had a ballot, he'd be second team for me.
Yeah, I think he'll end up on a team. I think he'll be a third team pick probably this year, and he deserves it. It's been cool to see him go from I kind of like the idea of him, but I don't really know how you get him on the floor to, hey, he's an awkward fit, but he's busting his hump and it's working. He's found a way to make it work, to be an efficient scorer, to be an effective player. Really cool, awesome story. And I hope that fans go out and at least give him a hearty ovation and a hearty final game at home when Iowa State comes to town this weekend, because he deserves it.
That dude is a Wildcat, and more David Gassons in the program are going to lead to success for K-State down the road. We'll take one final time out, come back, wrap up this 4 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. 4:56 on 580 Sports Talk. Wrapping up this hour. Did you guys watch the Oscars last night?
Nope.
Nope, but I did see clips from it, including Robert De Niro's.
So, I was looking at the list of best pictures, and some of this is I haven't been to the movies in a very long time. Like, if I'm going to sit down and watch something for 2+ hours, it's probably a sporting event. But also, there's being a new dad and being really out of touch with pop culture. I couldn't have even told you what 7 of the 9 best picture nominees were even about. I got nothing.
Yeah,
I knew the Bob Dylan movie. I knew Wicked was Wizard of Oz with songs.
I knew
Conclave was about the Pope.
Yeah, I had not heard of the movie that ended up winning all the awards. Honora, yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like an interesting story.
Honestly, I read the plot summary on Wikipedia. You could not pay me to watch that movie. It sounds terrible.
Really?
I can't believe that one best picture.
I also read the plot summary on Wikipedia when I found out about the movie existing. No.
Yeah, I had no idea. Honora, I thought it was about space.
I believe you're thinking of Andor.
Sure.
Yeah, I saw a list of the last 20 best pictures. I've seen all of 2 of them. I like movies, but I'm not a movie guy.
Yeah, I know a lot of people follow a lot of people on social media who are movie buffs.
Yes.
Their letterboxd is all full.
Where do people come from?
Yeah, you got all the time to watch these. Directors and cinematographers by their first names, and yeah, that's always been kind of strange to me. Coming on the 5 o'clock hour, we got headlines. We'll talk Royals. We'll preview Big Monday, KU in Houston. Brendan's got Washburn Basketball Coaches Show 6 to 7 on 106.9. This is 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Third and final hour of this Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk. If you're just joining us, welcome in. If you've been with us, thanks for hanging out. We appreciate you being along on this Monday on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our video stream, our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. You can also watch us on Facebook, WIBW News. Two-man game rest of the way. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis kicking it with you. Brendan Dworzinski's on his way to Skinny's Sports Bar and Grill, corner of Huntoon and Gage here in Topeka, for the MIAA Tournament Preview Edition of the Washburn Basketball Coaches Show. Regular season is in the books. Washburn men outright MIAA champions, number 1 overall seed in the MIAA tournament. Washburn women got the 5 seed in the MIAA tournament, really played their best basketball to close out the year. And we're going to hear from both of their head coaches on tonight's Washburn Basketball Coaches Show with Brendan. Brett Ballard and Laura Westling will join Brendan out at Skinny's from 6 until 7 tonight. You can hear it over on our sister station, your exclusive home for the Ichabod's, Country 1069, and the website mycountry1069.com. For those who are interested, Washburn basketball starts MIAA tournament play Thursday afternoon. Washburn men will have their first game of the tournament. They'll play either Central Oklahoma or Emporia at noon on Thursday. So Brendan will have the call from Municipal Auditorium on Thursday. They'll start Thursday morning, 11:45 a.m. Washburn women play their first game of the tournament on Friday night, a 6 o'clock tip-off against Nebraska Kearney. Brendan, of course, will be Mike's side for that one from Municipal Auditorium. Semifinals are Saturday. The championship games are on Sunday, with the men's game first at 1 o'clock and the women's game to follow. So follow the Ichabods throughout the MIAA tournament this coming week, Thursday through, we hope, Sunday on Country 1069.
Shout out to the women, projected to finish 10th and 9th in the coaches and media poll, respectively, and they finished 5th.
Yeah, got the number 5 seed, had a terrific year, really played strong basketball second half of the year, ended up going 17-12, 11-8 in the league, and no seniors is the best part. When you're talking about Laura Wesley's group, no seniors on that team. So they should come back intact and bolstered, and even better next year. Programs starting to turn the corner and really improve. And, of course, we know and have well documented just how good the men have been this season. So lots to be excited about for Washburn basketball as they enter conference tournament play. It's also tournament week here on 580 WIBW for the K-State women, who will open Big 12 tournament play Thursday morning. They'll have the first game of the day from the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City. K-State ended up dropping all the way to the number 5 seed in the conference. They lost a tiebreaker to West Virginia. So K-State did not get the double bye. They are the 5 seed. They will play the winner of the BYU-UCF game on Thursday morning, 10:30 pregame, 11 a.m. tip on Thursday. If they win that, they'll play Friday morning in a quarterfinal round game, semifinal Saturday, championship game Sunday, unless BYU makes it. Then they would have to play it on Monday. BYU doesn't play games on Sundays. So that's why there is that.
I totally forgot that.
Yeah, BYU,
I knew it, but I just
BYU didn't play on Sunday, so it's built into the schedule. If BYU made it to the championship, not likely. They are again the number 12 seed, but if they were to make it to the championship game, they would play on Monday. So K-State women Thursday morning, their first game, and then hopefully throughout the weekend you'll catch all of those games right here. Well, check that. The semifinal would have to be on Saturday on 94.5 Country, the big 94.5 Country. Due to a conflict with the K-State men regular season finale. But K-State women, Thursday morning, first game, and we'll go from there. 10:30 pregame, 11 a.m. tip. And we've also got high school basketball tournament action this week. The 580 Preps Road to a Championship resumes on Tuesday night with a sub-state doubleheader for you at 6 o'clock. 6A boys sub-state action. Washburn Rural, the number 3 seed in the West sub-state, will take on Wichita West. Myself and the coach, Larry Latimer, will be on the call at 6 o'clock. And then when we're done, we will join in progress a little city versus city action in 5A girls play. The sub-state number 2 in the 5A West bracket, Seaman, unbeaten at 20-0 this regular season, and yet still the number 2 seed in their regional because Hayes also went unbeaten. Seaman will take on the number 15 seed Topeka West. Third meeting this year between the Vikings and the Chargers. They, of course, are league mates. Spencer Dupuis will be standing by at Viking Gymnasium up north to take the play-by-play in progress of that game as soon as we're done at the Washburn Rural Activity Center. We'll also have some high school action for you on Friday night, and we hope on Saturday night, schedule permitting, teams permitting, to be determined. Go to our website, 580wibw.com. We've got a story up. You can see, I believe it is 35 area teams that are still alive into this week of sub-state play. You can see the schedule, see who plays who, and we'll keep you up to date as to what games we will have for you Friday and Saturday. But we can tell you Washburn Rural boys and Seaman versus Topeka West girls coming up on Tuesday. Still to come on this hour, 580 Sports Talk. Check in with the Royals after the weekend in the Cactus League. One very unpopular player from last year that Michael Garcia is being compared to, but I'll tell you why it makes sense. Also, we'll preview Big Monday. KU at Houston. Brendan could not be more down on his Jayhawks and their chances tonight. I got a little more optimism.
They're also 9.5-point underdogs.
9.5-point underdogs. It's as much as they've ever been a dog. Close to it anyway in the Bill Self era. It's quite a spread. And it is still, 9.5 up at Prairie Band Sportsbook at the Prairie Band Casino and Resort. So we'll talk some Big Monday. We will hear from you as well. We want to hear from you on the show in this final hour today. Get at us in the YouTube live chat if you are watching on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. You can also text the program. 785-272-9429 is the number. That is 785-272-9429. But let's start the 5 o'clock hours. We start every 5 o'clock hour on this program with our 580 Sports Talk headlines. And we will start with this from @Royals.com on Blue Sky. Always a Royal. Join us on May 31st for a pregame ceremony to celebrate Mike Moustakas' career as he retires a Royal. Royals will honor their former third baseman, 2014 pennant winner, 2015 World Series champion, before a game against the Detroit Tigers. And that will be May 31st, a Saturday night, in which Moose will be celebrated as he officially retires a Royal. Moustakas spent his first 7.5 big league season trade in 2018, 934 of his 1,427 career games in the Royal Blue. Moustakas accumulated 139 home runs and 441 runs driven in. He was also a 2-time All-Star as a member of the Royals in 2015 and 2017, and broke Steve Balboni's record that had lasted for 32 years when he hit 38 home runs in 2017. That broke Balboni's single-season home run record of 36, set back in the championship season of 1985. He was traded to Milwaukee midway through 2018, spent the next season and a half with the Brewers, where he reached his third All-Star game in 2019. Then spent 3 seasons with the Reds, 2020 through 2022, as injuries began to take their toll on Moustakas as he entered his 30s. Spent time in 2023 with the Rockies and the Angels, and was actually a pretty fair bench option for the Rockies before being traded to the Angels, where he struggled, but he got a chance to play closer to his hometown of Chatsworth, California. Never signed with anybody last year, if my memory serves.
He signed a minor league deal with the White Sox, but he was cut in March.
Yeah, man, never hooked on with anybody else. Never played any minor league ball last year. Sat out the season and decided that was a sign. So the 36-year-old Moustakas is hanging it up.
I have audio from him. He's down in Surprise today. Do you want?
We do. Yes. Yeah. Fire it up. Let's hear it.
All right.
Mike Moustakas was the number 2 overall pick in the 2007 draft. In his first 4 big league seasons, he hit .236 with an OPS that was 18% worse than league average. But that showed signs of life memorably in the 2014 postseason. Then in 2015, he was an all-star and finished 21st in MVP voting. There's a lesson there about sticking with your guys, believing in your young talent, giving them an opportunity. And nobody was racing up from the minor leagues to block Moustakas out at third base. So he kept getting chances until he made good and had a nice little peak run through, if you consider 2015 to 2019, you can include the COVID year, 20 games, but it was only a 60-game season. But if you figure that as a 6-year peak, he batted .262 during that run and was 14% better than league average with his OPS. So averaged 34 home runs per 162 games in his 6-year peak. Really did ultimately get to that big power, even if he lost time during what should have been his peak. Obviously, played only 27 games in 2016 and then had the COVID year there in 2020, his first year with the Reds, after he finally got that big free agent deal he'd been looking for. I always like Moustakas a lot, and I know a lot of Royals fans did as well. The evidence can be found at dog parks across greater Kansas City and the surrounding area, because if you go to a dog park, the chances are pretty good you're going to bump into a dog named Moose. Next headline.
Yes, from at T Higgins 5 on X, a post today that just said tag, because T Higgins was announcing that he was given the franchise tag by the Bengals for the 2nd straight year. The Bengals later announced the move, and it's for $26.2 million for the 2025 season. That's what the wide receiver franchise tag is going to pay him if they are unable to agree to a long-term deal by the July 15th deadline.
So if you may recall last year, T. Higgins is always willing to make his thoughts heard on social media. And last year, there was a report that after the Bengals franchised T. Higgins last year, that it was the precursor to a long-term deal. And T. Higgins posted the hat emoji, as in cap. As in case you're not up on the lingo, that is what people say to refer to something that is not true or has no basis in fact, or is a lie. They say cap or hat, I guess. I think it'd be fun. Sometimes I think it's funny to just say hat instead of cap. Anyhow, so today it was not cap. It was just tag, and no further comment from the Bengals wide receiver. Dealt with a little bit of injury this past season, but in 5 seasons as a Bengal, he ranks 18th in the league in total receiving yards and 14th in total touchdowns. Has played in just 12 of 17 regular season games in each of the last 2 seasons, but still caught 10 touchdowns in 12 games this year, which tied him for 6th in the league. I am in agreement with our NFL insider, Matt Verderame, who joined us in the 3 o'clock hour today. If you missed that, check us on Spotify, 580 Sports Talk, or go to our website, 580wibw.com, to check out our podcast page. Or just rewind on our YouTube video if you want, from 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. I agree that the Bengals are probably only going to be able to get a long-term deal done with one of their 3 primary free agents, and it will be Jamar Chase, because as good as I think that T. Higgins is, and arguably Joe Burrow is closer to T. Higgins, like personally, than he is even with his old college teammate, Jamar Chase. Chase is the guy. Chase is the guy that you give the $30 million to, and T. Higgins is not. And here's the thing about having 2 wide receivers that make over $25 million a year. There's 2 teams in the league that have those guys. One of them is Philadelphia Eagles, and they just won the Super Bowl. The other is the Miami Dolphins, and they didn't reach playoffs. There are 4 other teams that pay 2 wide receivers more than $20 million a year on the same team. And of those 4 teams, I don't believe any of them won a playoff game this last year. So the point is, like, unless you're the Eagles, unless you're like the best drafting organization, the best scouting organization, you've got some team-friendly deals elsewhere. Unless you're the Eagles, paying 2 receivers in excess of $20 million a year is not a real great way to build a winning team. Also, the Bengals are legendarily cheap, so there's that too. So I have my doubts that they get anything done with Higgins. Matt Verderame says explicitly he's not going to play on the tag. Like he just won't show.
Yeah.
He'll no show and he won't play on the tag. So we'll see how that goes. Feels like the start of a staring contest a little bit between the Bengals and T. Higgins. We'll see who wins. Typically the Bengals don't win those. So we'll see how that goes. Another headline from ESPN.com. The pregame show of Super Bowl 59 makes a lot more sense in the context
but
of
it
this
doesn't
headline.
at the same time because he came out during that pregame show and said, "Can't wait for more."
Well, there is no more for Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson retires from Fox's NFL coverage after 31 years. Made the announcement live on The Herd with Colin Cowherd today. Jimmy Johnson's 81.
Yeah.
That startles me. He says, I've made an extremely difficult decision. I've been thinking about it for the last 4 or 5 years, and I've decided to retire from Fox. I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss all the guys. It's been a great run starting 31 years ago. Jimmy Johnson was on the first pregame show that Fox ever did.
When they got
football 31 years ago. And then, of course, he went back to being a head coach briefly with Miami, but was welcomed back to the Fox crew when he left the Dolphins. And that was in 2002. I have been thinking for the last couple of years that Fox crew is a little stale, a little long in the tooth. Like Terry Bradshaw has been there forever. Howie Long has been there forever. And certainly Jimmy Johnson had been there forever. We have seen CBS, the other major Sunday rights holder for the NFL, who has that pregame show. We've seen them freshen their cast up. ESPN seems like they're always freshening up the cast for Sunday NFL Countdown.
Well, I think for Fox, I mean, you've seen Gronk come in there every once in a while, too. That was their freshening up, is he would come in for some weeks.
Yeah.
And then be gone for like half the season, then pop back up. But they're going to have to do a lot of retooling because they've lost a couple guys now with Mike Vick off the pregame.
That's true. I haven't watched the Fox pregame in a very, very long time.
Also, apparently Aaron Andrews and Chris Thompson's contracts are up.
Interesting. That I did not know. I'm not as in the weeds, I guess, on the what's going on with the television crews. But Jimmy Johnson no longer on Fox NFL Sunday and calling it a career at the age of 81. I honestly, like, when I do watch like the Fox games, I don't do a lot of the pregame show stuff. To me, it doesn't appeal to me. If I do watch a pregame show, it's usually ESPN or the NFL Network's pregame. I don't watch a lot of the network pregame stuff.
I used to watch a lot of it when I lived on the East Coast because
it was on at noon.
It was on at noon, and now it's on at 11. So usually I'm doing stuff, and then I got to be back by noon.
Just if you're like me and you're not married, not childless days, you might be just waking up at 11.
Or that, or it was like going to the grocery store.
Out of bed. Yeah. No, I get it. I do think it's time for a fresh coat of paint for that crew. Kurt Menefee does fine as the main host, but like, somebody got to take Terry aside and say, man, it's time. Jimmy steps aside. It's time for you.
I mean, he's 76.
And like, he gets the highlights wrong. Like, I get it. He's been on, I think, all 31 years of the NFL on Fox, but it's time, Terry. It's time, man. Like, don't feel like you need to keep doing it just for the check or whatever it is.
Yeah. I mean, I would imagine there's going to be, I think Julian Edelman's been on there too. See, I would imagine they're going to do a lot of turning with that pregame, and
also, but there's also the thought that they might get like outbid when the new media rights deals comes up. I haven't heard anything about CBS getting outbid, but I have heard that there's a chance that Fox could lose the NFL. Now, I don't think they would want to let that happen. CBS has already lost the NFL once, so they're like, yeah, that's never happened.
Yeah, we're never letting
we're not doing that again. They lost the NFL, of course, to Fox back in 1993. So I have heard that is a possibility, however remote. I don't know. I wouldn't put a percentage on it, but it does. I just feel like that crew could use a refresh, and maybe this is the start of it.
Yeah.
Get another headline for me, Spence?
Yes, there's one more headline here from ESPN.com. FSU and Clemson expected to reach settlement with the ACC. Here, as everyone's kind of been waiting for this to happen, as Florida State and Clemson will vote tomorrow on an agreement that would ultimately result in the settlement of the 4 ongoing lawsuits between the schools and the ACC and a new revenue distribution strategy that would solidify the conference's membership for the near future, according to sources that told ESPN on Monday. The ACC Board of Directors is scheduled to hold a call Tuesday to go over that settlement. In addition, Florida State and Clemson have both called board meetings to present the terms at noon Eastern Tuesday. All 3 boards must agree to the settlement for it to move forward, but sources throughout the league expect a deal to be reached. And according to sources, the settlement includes 2 key objectives: establishing a new revenue distribution model based on viewership and a change in the financial penalties for exiting the league's grant of rights before its conclusion in June of 2036.
So that's the big key.
Yeah.
Right. Is the revenue distribution is not going to be evenly distributed. Like in the Big 12, it's even media distribution. And in the Big 10, it's even media distribution. But the ACC, to save itself, is going to go to a model where, okay, we're not going to actually ask Florida State and Clemson to take the same share of money
Wake Forest
as Wake Forest does.
Yeah.
And look,
makes sense to me, I think.
Well, it makes sense for Florida State and Clemson, and as a move of self-preservation for the ACC. I think you're probably pretty hacked off if you're Wake Forest or, I don't know, Georgia Tech or who else? I don't even remember who's in that league anymore.
Pitt,
Boston College.
Yeah, that's another one.
So, but yeah, the ACC needed to do something to save its hide, and this is what they're going to do. And I don't blame them. I understand that in this uncertain future where you've already seen one Power 5 conference essentially bite the dust, you don't want to be second. You do not also want to be grist for the SEC and the Big Ten mill as they continue their relentless takeover of college sports. So I guess good for the ACC, good for Florida State and Clemson for strong-arming this, not so good for the Wake Forest of the world. But again, more and more, it's not about the little guy, it's about the big guy. And even among the big guys, there are big guys. The ACC learning that lesson. We'll take a timeout, wrap up our 580 Sports Talk headlines. When we come back, let's talk a little baseball, shall we? Royals were winners in the Cactus League today. I've got a note about Michael Garcia and a note about an impressive pitching prospect I want to get to as we continue on this Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk. 5:33 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan and Spencer hanging out with you until 6 o'clock. Jeff Mitty's show tonight after we're done. Final regular season edition, Big 12 tournament preview edition of the Jeff Mitty Show, head coach of the K-State women. That's coming up right when we're done here on the Sports Voice of Kansas. Royals double up the Rangers in Cactus League play this afternoon, 6-3. The final score, Royals scoring all their runs in the 5th, 6th, and 7th innings to earn the victory. Daniel Lynch started on the mound for Kansas City, gave up just one hit in 3 scoreless innings, and struck out a pair. Hunter Harvey worked a perfect 4th with a strikeout. At the dish, Jonathan India, Bobby Witt Jr. each got hits. Witt's was a double. 2-hit day for MJ Melendez, including a triple. He's starting to warm up. And Nick Prado hit his first home run of the spring off of former Royal, and one you definitely forgot was ever a Royal, Walter Pennington. Remember Walter Pennington?
If I'm not mistaken, he made his debut in Colorado.
That's right.
Because he's from Colorado.
Colorado guy, pitched at the Colorado School of Mines.
And then
Look at that synergy.
And then he got traded like a week later, right?
Got traded for Michael Lorenzen
Yeah.
a couple of weeks later. Yeah, so one appearance with the Royals in his career. Actually pitched a bunch, and I think he's going to make the Rangers pen this season, but he gave up the home run to Prado in the 5th inning. That tied the game at 1. Royals go on to win it again, 6-3. I'll circle back to Daniel Lynch in a minute. 2 things I wanted to touch on real quick. Maikel Garcia getting some action in center field over the weekend. And we've already seen Garcia's versatility in the infield. We've seen him play second base, third base. He's a natural shortstop. Could play any of those and do so credibly, though he looked more comfortable on the left side of the infield than he did on the right side of the infield last year. And now getting a little bit of an opportunity in center field. And this is the quote from J.J. Piccolo, the general manager of the Royals, from a story from Ann Rogers of MLB.com. The more he's in the middle of the field, the better off it is. The way our team's set up, Bobby Witt Jr. is playing short. If Michael Massey is playing second, the next best spot to get Garcia is in center field. That's interesting. That suggests that we're looking at Jonathan India at third base on opening day. That would be what I would think that means. Continuing the quote, though. Last year, we had Garrett Hampson in that role, infield, outfield, and Maikel is a great in-house candidate to do it. Now, you may have involuntarily shuddered when you heard the name Garrett Hampson. I don't blame you. That's a nightmare I had to live twice. He played on my favorite team for like 5 years and wasn't any good. And then last year for the Royals, he had an OPS of 576. Is that bad? Yeah, it's real bad. It's 37% worse than league average, even accounting for playing half his games at Kauffman Stadium. He did not hit a home run in 231 at-bats. He batted just 230. He didn't draw a lot of walks. He struck out a ton, didn't steal a ton of bases. Maikel Garcia is a much better baseball player than Garrett Hampson. Even if he wasn't an appreciably better hitter than Hampson was last year, he's been a better hitter than Hampson is at this stage of his career. Hampson, by the way, got a minor league deal from, was it Arizona? Somebody like that. He's on a minor league deal somewhere. Garcia's got a little more thump. Garcia can steal bases. He was 37-39 last year, led the Royals in that category. If that's what the Royals get from that utility piece this year is Garcia's speed and power potential, and don't get me wrong, when I talk about his power potential, it's not the same as when I talk about like Jack Caglione's power potential, right? Like there are degrees that we're working with here, but I like the thought of it. I just wonder how well he's going to take to center field, because not everybody takes to it particularly well. And he has the disadvantage of having to learn it in big league games that matter in one of the most cavernous center fields in baseball.
Yeah.
And there's also this. And you appreciate how tough it is when you watch like Kyle Isbell handle it, or when you watch Lorenzo Cain deal with it all those years. For the early portion of the season and for most of the day games, it is one of the toughest sun fields in baseball. Absolutely brutal sun field, center field at Kauffman Stadium. So I don't know if I want him out there a lot of Sunday afternoons, and I don't know how many home games I want him at in center field, to be completely honest with you. But if it's a right-handed option to get Kyle Isbell out of the lineup and potentially have a little bit more offensive potency against a right-handed pitcher. I think it's all good. I think I'm all for that idea for Michael, who just might not have enough bat to be an everyday player, but has enough line drive ability and speed to be, well, like a much better version of Garrett Hampson. I'd be okay with that. The other thing I wanted to bring up, Major League Baseball, MLB.com, did one prospect who has impressed so far in spring training for all 30 teams. And the name they came up with for the Royals is right-handed pitcher Luinder Avila, who's the number 26 rated prospect in the Royals organization, according to MLB Pipeline. Ann Rogers writes, someone whose name keeps popping up in conversations is Avila. He's a starter and will continue to be built up in AAA this season, needing more development time, but his physicality has stood out to coaches watching him throw in games and bullpens. Avila has promising stuff, including a mid-90s fastball that naturally cuts, a new two-seamer, and a big breaking ball that misses bats. The Royals see Avila as being able to help them in a variety of roles, which includes the bullpen.
He is on the 40-man, too.
He is. So that would give him an opportunity to be somebody that they call up.
Yeah.
When we went into last season, one of my big points of consternation when it came to the Royals was I was worried about their starting pitching depth. I was worried this time last year that the Royals did not have enough starting pitching depth. Now, you're obviously limited how many you can carry on a big league roster, but looking at the farm, it wasn't real promising. There weren't a lot of guys at AAA who you felt like, okay, yeah, this guy's got to take 3 starts while Cole Reagans or Seth Lugo or Michael Wacha hits the IL with like a tight oblique for 2 weeks. The Royals can survive that. Like, I didn't feel real good about Jonathan Bolin or, frankly, Daniel Lynch going into last season. The Royals have assembled not only some credible major league pitching depth now with guys like Alec Marsh, who may not make the opening day rotation, but has shown he can be a big league starter. Daniel Lynch has had a very promising spring. Was good again today. Really good start to his spring. Kyle Wright is on the roster. He's a 20-game winner in the major leagues. He's probably going to start on the injured list as he continues to build up his arm strength, but he could factor. And now there are guys at the high minors like Avila and Noah Cameron, who pitched 3 innings today. First 2 innings were real good, gave up 2 runs in his final frame, but struck out 3, didn't walk a batter, and earned the save in today's game. The young arms who are there at AAA kind of idling, I feel a lot better about than I did last year. And it feels like if the Royals do not have the same kind of injury luck that they had with their pitchers last year, which is probable, like highly probable, that the same 6 guys aren't going to make 157 starts. I feel better about what's behind them. I feel better about at least Luinder Avila's got a big arm, or Noah Cameron's had really good minor league success, or Daniel Lynch is a brand new man. Like, I really feel good about the pitching depth that the Royals are starting to accumulate, and in turn, the development of guys like Lynch and Avila and Cameron. And you're going to want to know those last 2 names. File them away for later on this summer. I mean, I guess in a perfect world, you know, Lugo and Reagans and those guys never miss a turn, and you don't see those guys at Kauffman Stadium, but file them away. That makes me feel good about just the broader picture of how the Royals develop pitching as a whole and what it could mean for the futures of guys who've maybe felt a little stalled as prospects, like the first-round draft pick, Frank Mazzucato, like Ben Caderna, the local kid out of Blue Valley. So I think that's real positive. I consider that a real positive for the Royals, and something that I think can help them to contend in an American League Central that looks kind of, I wouldn't call it top heavy. Like, there's not a bunch of 90, 95 win teams, but there are a bunch of teams that are 500-ish to slightly better. And one of the things that can separate you from the pack is what happens if you lose a starting pitcher or a couple starting pitchers for a month. Do you have enough pitching depth to tread water in case of emergency? I would not have said yes to that question about last year's Royals. Turned out it didn't matter. It's likely it matters this year, but I will answer the question with a yes. I do feel like they can tread water or better with the pitching depth that they're accumulating and developing. We'll take a timeout here. When we come back, big Monday tonight, KU at Houston. We'll break it down on 580 Sports Talk. Couple more baseball thoughts before we get to KU hoops at Houston tonight. Paul points out rightly in the YouTube content or comments, depth also means that if the Royals were to find themselves in a buyer's position at the end of July, they could bring in some higher end talent at the expense of some of that pitching depth. Yeah, you can never have too many quality arms in your organization because arms are currency. And if the Royals want to make a move, if they find themselves, like I kind of think they might, a bat short June or July, they could certainly use somebody who's had some success at the high minors to try and sweeten a package to go and get a bat. Go and get somebody who can add that thump to the middle of the lineup that I just still feel like they're short of. Unless MJ Melendez's spring is a harbinger of something. He got around on a pitch up and in for his triple today, or one of his hits today. Apparently, he hit like 063 on pitches in that spot last year.
Wow.
He just couldn't get to him.
Yeah.
And now with his new stance, he can get to him.
That's great.
Yeah. Shout out to, I think it's Jack Johnson on Twitter.
That's what
or
spring
X,
training's
who
for,
pointed
too,
that out.
is to like see where you've improved.
Yeah.
Like, and you're seeing it in
new
person.
pitch, new stance, all those things. See who's in the best shape of their lives, all that stuff. Well, also had a text from the 785 mention another solid weekend for K-State baseball. Went 2-1 at the Frisco Classic, took LSU to extra innings, beat Sam Houston, and beat Nebraska. I think most people thought K-State baseball would take a bit of a step back with all their graduation losses from last year's team, but they got some dudes. Lincoln Sheffield looks like a real quality arm. Max Martin named Player of the Week of the Big 12 this last week. We'll have some K-State baseball coming up in a couple of Sundays. from now. Our first K-State baseball broadcast from K-State Network coming up on the 16th of March. We'll have a game, K-State taking on, I believe that's Utah in Big 12 play. That'll be our first broadcast of the Batcats this year on the Sports Voice of Kansas. KU and Houston tonight from the Fertitta Center. K-State, you got any more foods named with F while we're here?
No. So the Fry Center.
Okay.
The French Fry
French
Center.
fries. We can do French fries. Kansas still a 9.5-point dog, according to our pals at Prairie Band Sportsbook up at Prairie Band Casino and Resort in Mayetta. 2 reasons I think KU's got a chance tonight. Number 1, Houston wrapped up the outright Big 12 championship with their win on Saturday. Could lead to a bit of a letdown tonight with nothing to play for in the regular season, and you've already beaten this team once. Maybe the motivation is lacking a little bit, even though it is senior night, and typically senior night, you're not lacking for motivation for your guys. Senior night's pretty powerful motivation typically, but maybe, just maybe, after they beat Cincinnati on Saturday and wrapped up the outright Big 12 title for a second straight year, maybe a bit of a letdown possible. Maybe it's a letdown spot for Houston tonight. That's one reason I think KU's got a chance. Second reason, we saw this game and KU had it won. I know it was at Allen Fieldhouse. I know it was earlier this year, but Kansas had that game won twice. Like, they beat Houston twice and then somehow didn't. And it remains the most baffling loss maybe of the Bill Self era. Kansas has not been the same basketball team since that day. They have not. But if you go back to that game, I actually kind of like how KU matches up man for man with Houston. Hunter Dickinson is much bigger. Like, Houston's got tough guys like who play the post, but they don't have like super size underneath. And Hunter Dickinson in the first meeting had 17 points and 8 rebounds and 17 points on 11 shots. He's played better basketball of late. I think you get a good game from him. They also, though, in that game got big performances from Zeke Mayo, who was obviously in a funk, but he had 16 points in that game. Flory Badunga had 19 in that game.
I think I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. This could be a game where you were there, weren't you?
I was about to say, I was there.
You were there. He had 19 and 7. Probably his best game, played 36 minutes. This is certainly a game where KU can go to 2 bigs because, again, Houston doesn't have that like super size. Rylan Griffin also made 5 threes off the bench in that game. So certainly KU is going to need production outside of Dickinson, and they just haven't gotten quite enough of that. Didn't get quite enough of that on Saturday against Texas Tech. But Houston's not going to be a team that is a math problem for KU. Texas Tech was a math problem because they shot all those freaking threes and they made 14 of them. And KU could shoot 100 threes. And I would worry about their ability to make 14 of them. And also, they wouldn't shoot 100 threes because at any given moment, they have 3 guys on the floor who don't shoot threes.
Yeah.
But it's not a math problem kind of game for Houston. Houston is not going to be a team that shoots a ton from 3. That, like, LJ Cryer will shoot, and Emmanuel Sharp's a decent shooter, but they play a similar sort of style to KU offensively, where they're looking to get it inside and they're looking to be efficient from 2-point range. So the game is going to be played on terms that are comfortable for Kansas. So those are the 2 reasons I think they can win. Here's the reason I don't think they will. They're not as good as Houston, and Houston's playing at home. And typically you take the better team at home. I think Houston wins. I would not be shocked if Kansas covered and it's a 40-minute game. Brendan said he thinks it'll be over by halftime. So
Yeah.
that's the KU fan talking. That's KU fans had a hard time this year talking. But I think it's gonna be a competitive game. I do. I think KU can hang in. I'm gonna be really, really surprised if they come out of it with a win, but I don't think it's a lost cause. I don't. We'll take a timeout. One last break. We'll come back with a final word. But first, a word with my friends at Great Life here in Topeka. I wanted to talk about better golf weather, and then I heard we might get a blizzard tomorrow. That sucks if you like to play golf. But when that snow is finally gone for good, Great Life has 5 outstanding golf courses. They're well kept. They're in great shape. They're fun to play. They offer challenges for novice golfers and experienced golfers alike. I love to play them. My personal favorite is Western Hills because it's the closest one to where I live, and I have played really good golf there at the Hills before, and I look forward to getting out there when the weather finally permits because I'm a Great Life member, and you should be too. Go to greatlifetopeka.com to learn more about the outstanding benefits Great Life Golf members can receive. Final words next on 580 Sports Talk. Walking off, wrapping up this Monday 580 Sports Talk with the final word. Spencer Dupuis, lay it on me.
Yeah. Earlier you were talking about, you and Brendan were going back and forth when we were talking about KU and not the team you want them to be. It seems like the last 2 years they just haven't found the guys to be what the typical KU that you're expecting, but they're still going to make the NCAA tournament. You mentioned Duke had some teams with Coach K that didn't go to the NCAA tournament. Like, you can't take away the NCAA, like the achievement of making it every year to a team, even if they're not as great as you think they're going to be. So it's still a win for KU.
My final word, flowers for David Gasson of the Kansas State Wildcats. One of my favorite players to watch since I've been covering K-State for the last decade plus. I love his story. I love his attitude. I love his work ethic. I love how much he's improved. And I love how much he clearly means to his team. I think he is a shining example of what Kansas State basketball ought to be. And I think he is going to be an example of the kind of player Jerome Tang's going to look towards as they build their teams moving forward. More David Gassons are going to mean more wins. And I don't just mean the skill set. I mean the attitude. I mean the desire to be the best player that he can be. That's going to do it for us today. We'll be back tomorrow from 3 until 6. For Brendan Dworzinski and Spencer Dupuis, I'm Dan Lucero, and this is 580 Sports Talk. Good night.